Welcome to the Oingly Boingly podcast, where we get our hardest Oingly Boinglies on. My name is Christian.
I'm Bobby.
I'm Nick.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm babysitting right now, so I'm going to have to be getting up more often than late. Usually you're contending with me getting more drinks, doing pee-pees and poo-poos sometimes, and now it's going to be rearing a child and existential dread. All of those things, I just have to, at any time I could just walk away. So you'll know I'm gone when I'm not talking over people and being obnoxious.
Perfect.
And then I'll begin to start whispering about 30 minutes into the podcast because my kid's going down to bed soon. So it'll be the sultry hour in about 30 minutes.
Kids are wonderful, guys.
All this and more coming up on your favorite episode of DLG.
Yeah, you know what's nice about not having kids is all the video games that we get to play.
That's a lie, okay? Bobby doesn't have kids and he still doesn't play any video games.
I do.
All
I just
right.
play the same ones over and over again. So it seems like I have nothing to talk about.
Bobby's the only person holding up the hot server still. That's it. He's the only person still playing it.
Fortunately,
No, man, I'm on to a new. You've been gone for a while, Nick. So I'll forgive
I know.
you here, but I'm all about Sea of Thieves now, dude.
Oh,
Forget HOTS.
boy.
We're all playing Sea of Thieves now. That's the game that everybody should be playing.
And I don't know if we should step on Bobby too much. Do you guys want to have the, quarterly DLG update about who's talked about playing the most amount of games? You guys interested in some numbers?
Sure.
I'd love to hear them. Yeah.
Hey, Emilio, with the children, with the responsibilities, with the work, knocking everyone out of the park. 22 games talked about. Bobby, hot second. This guy's got 52 jobs on the side, 16 games he's talking about. Amanda, traveling the world and managed to put in 13 games. And then we have Nicholas. We love him. He's talked about playing 5 games, and then,
Yeah!
Oh, Jesus Christ. And then me, I've talked about 2 games. So that's the numbers. That's your quarterly Digital Logic update.
Nick goes hard in the paint. When he plays a game, you play it all the way through. And, he does. Yeah, he goes deep, man. He gets into the lore, everything.
Yeah.
I try to. So my thing is like, for example, I'm talking about Resident Evil today as the game that I played. For those who don't know, I spent the last 3 weeks selling and buying a house and then driving a 26-foot long truck through the shithole that is the bottom right hand side of our country and its shitty ass roads. But I am back, and I only got to play a little bit of video games during that whole time. But I like to play the whole game and then kind of give updates throughout the gameplay. I'm not like Emilio. I don't have that bad of ADHD where he's like, I'll play Risk of Rain 2, and then I'll play Dark Tide, and then I'll play this, and then it's just nonstop, just bouncing between games. He never plays more than 2 hours of a game, anyways.
Wow, I think you guys should fight. Fucking called out. Jeez.
I mean, I'm gonna see him a month anyway, so just I don't know.
And also
I really
in his
laid
defense,
into him about it. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say in his defense, I definitely have seen this weekend he was playing a lot of games. You got a lot of gaming.
I saw that too, actually.
Yeah, work just told us take the weekend off. You guys have been working really hard. We're like, okay, we didn't even know what to do with ourselves with 2 weekends off.
Just standing there with your hands out. I don't know.
What to do.
Returning to Returnal.
Yeah, that's true. I did. But that is not on the list on highlights, but there are some things on our radar. These are games that have come to our attention and have piqued our interest. I have an article that Tagloro posted that I found really interesting. So Chat GTP is now being integrated into certain mods. So Skyrim, somebody has taken a bunch of mods, put them all together and written their own script. Somebody much smarter than me and all that. And so, it's a Skyrim VR mod. You can, in normal language, you cast a spell on any NPC, and that starts the mod. And you can, in natural speech, talk to an NPC, and that NPC will know of the lore of the game that character should know of. You know what I mean? So it's pretty bad right now. It's really clunky, but this is like the first video. So he talks to a blacksmith, and the blacksmith knew what time the hours of his shop were, and he knew the character picks up a sword, and he's like, can you tell me about this sword? And the guy tells him the description of the sword, and this is being processed. This is not pre-scripted stuff. So this he has one mod that's going to ChatGPT to get the information. He has another mod that's applying that script to auto voice, which, by the way, sounds kind of like the original voice actors. Really clunky, very, very, but you can see where it's going. And then also he's trying to put memory into the NPCs so they'll remember previous conversations that you've had with them. So fucking nuts, man. And somebody's done similar things to Bannerlord. So you can go up to NPCs and get a lot more information. You have to actually type it out to them, but I mean, this is where we're headed, guys. I mean,
That's nuts.
Once a multi-million-dollar company gets a hold of this kind of this kind of tech, it's weird, but like implementing these in big games, even old games like the next Assassin's Creed, if it has integrated AI, like what the fuck, man, it's going to be so much more immersive.
Yeah, it's great. It's crazy because like we would think some of the changes that have been made in like the last 10 years of gaming have been like huge, right? So for example, like in Metal Gear Solid 5, when you keep shooting enemies in the head, the more you go on missions, they start to begin to wear like head armor. If you start shooting them in the head, in the chest, they'll start wearing chest armor and things like that. They'll start patrolling different ways if you're like ultra sneaky and things like that. And that's just like an if-then statement version of coding. When you get to the point where you're like actually having a conversation with ChatGPT and it's pretending to be like some villager in Skyrim, that's like definitely a game changer. That's not like an if-then statement. It's more like a generated response. Emilio, have you fucked around with ChatGPT, just the normal interface at all?
Sorry, I missed that last part.
I said, have you actually messed with ChatGPT at all yet?
Yeah, very little actually. But yeah, it's pretty remarkable how it sounds like natural language when the responses come back.
Have you tried doing the character thing where you can assign it a character?
No, I haven't. So it'll speak in a certain person's like style.
So for example, I did a character from Warhammer Total War, and I was like, what do you think is the most dangerous thing to the kingdom? And he begins to like writes out the response. It's like, I think chaos is the most dangerous, but however, Skaven is the closest, and it gives like the city names and all these other things and like his opinion on the situation. And I'm like, well, what do you think? What kind of troops do you think you need? And all this stuff. And I ended up having like a 10-minute conversation with a robot. So that's pretty interesting.
When you guys say it'll bring immersion, in my mind, I don't know. I haven't looked into this, by the way, completely off the cuff opinion, but won't it just help people who are making games? Like now they don't have to write out all this dialogue. Now they just have to train an AI model instead of going line by line and like having, an editor and everything else.
Yeah, that also. Yeah.
But, I think we're heading towards a rocky road right now. I think we're going to start to see a lot of legislation when it comes to like creativity, like creative, possession and things like that. And like who actually owns the rights to the export of like AI interfaces. Like the music business right now, like Taylor Swift just had she just denied a record deal because they wanted her likeness, even once their contract was over, so that they could generate songs with AI. And so Bruce Willis sold his likeness and his voice to an AI company as well, so they can use it for movies. And to me, it's a little odd, right? If we just start coming out with Michael Jackson songs all over again, we're like, all right, this is neat, but it's kind of weird. Just let the guy be dead, right? But I don't know. I think when it comes to video games, I think it has a lot more application. But to be honest, I rather if it makes crunch culture go away, then I'm 100% for it. But if it makes the games just like roundabout and kind of boring, then obviously don't want a part of that.
Because that's what I'm worried about too, is that like either AI is going to spin the story out in a way that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't AI, right? And then also too, like, is it just going to be the most like basic models of just regurgitated the exact same story? I'm worried that like the story is going to take a hit for this. like it's cutting a corner and it's going to harm that. But at the same time, like it could definitely be incredibly helpful and also too like unique and really great, especially if it does help alleviate some of the pressure for a lot of these devs with that aspect. But there's definitely going to be some beginning games that are just dog shit with story because there is growing pains with this kind of technology always.
I'm imagining like a narrative storyline that's like like a team of people have written, but then like if you talk to an off the side NPC, they're trained on the AI model, but like what you've done in the story or something. I don't know. Maybe that's.
I think that's probably the best application, right? Keep the main story, the main characters written and voice acted by real people, but keep like the woo woo like bandit ambusher, like, oh my god, you're wearing dragon armor. Fuck, we don't rob that guy. And then he runs away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like make that realistic.
Bobby, are you excited for all this extra dialogue?
Bobby's like, I don't
yeah.
want interaction in my games, damn it.
Yeah,
Bobby's
it's a
like,
little
that sounds
lost on
great.
me.
Fuck the story.
As long as they let me skip it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't care. Like I don't know. It's a big thing in education too. This whole chat GPT and AI and all this stuff's got everybody kind of scared. But I think the one thing everybody always forgets, they get kind of caught up on where this is going to go. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of fun and interesting. But just remember, like in its current state right now, it's really, really shitty. I mean, have you guys used it before? It's not.
Yeah.
It's.
Well, have you seen the pizza commercial that
Oh, yeah.
AI
Oh, my
created?
God.
Pizza magic.
Yeah, somebody
is
posted that in our
terrifying.
Discord, a pizza commercial created by AI. Yeah, and that
Look
was
it up. It's hilarious.
that was a little weird. But yeah, it's just I don't think it's very usable in this current form. And like when it comes to its application to gaming, doesn't really interest me that much because I'm not super interested in narrative games.
Yeah. I think we're gonna see the ups and downs of the new technology be developed, and it's going to take quite a while. ChatGPT has already said that its next model is on hold completely due to advancements and things like that, and possible legislation. So hopefully, whatever does come is actually an assistance and not a hindrance, and we all don't get nuked by robots. But
Dude, it's everywhere, man. The fucking AI uprising. I feel like every story I see, every movie I see, every game I play, it all has to do with robots taking over. It's just like we're gonna invoke our own fucking demise, man. But whatever. And
I mean, it's not like we've been doing a real bang up job, though. So maybe robots would be better in charge.
says the robot.
Just throwing that out there.
And that was Chat GTP. What the hell is above snakes?
Well, above snakes is certainly where you want to be. You don't want to fall into a pit of snakes, am I right? But that has nothing to do with this game. This game is a Wild West inspired survival RPG where it's Bobby's favorite. You're crafting and you're farming, but this is done from kind of like a top-down view where it's like a grid kind of based thing, like it's a strategy game, even though it's not. And so that to me is kind of like an interesting, nice little take on that. It reminds me a little bit of like Age of Empires, but if it was a crafting survival, which I think could be really cool. It comes out May 25th, so it's coming out in 3 weeks, and I just think it looks cool. I enjoy the way that they do like the dialogue. Well, they'll have the icon. It reminds me very much of like Divinity Original Sin or how they would have done something like that in a sense. But this is, like I said, a crafting survival where you can build your own little base and all kinds of things. You can fish, you can hunt, you can like create stuff and fight and kill. But I do believe it's PvE. You can't kill each other, and I believe it's also, it's single player as well.
I'm getting Don't Starve vibes from it.
Oh, see, I never played that.
you never
not-
played Don't Starve, dude?
No.
I'm not even that big of a fan, and I know it's a fucking great game. You definitely should play it, especially with multiplayer. If you got a homie to play with, dude, it is so good, and you would love the art style and like the comedy in the game. Like, you definitely play Don't Starve, man. I
But
think you
Don't
can get it for
Starve
like a
is
nickel.
yeah, it's pretty cheap these days. There's a bunch of DLC. It is a great game, and I like the art style, but it's not
crafting
like
survival.
it's a crafting survival, but it's also like a roguelike. Like it's a very difficult game, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like you're gonna die.
Yeah,
It,
a lot.
actually, right now, Don't Starve Together is $1.49.
Damn.
All right.
Wow, it's a deal.
Well, That's good, and I'll put that in my noggin for later. Cause yeah, right now we're talking about being above snakes. So- no, I mean, there's not too much more I think I have to say about this game other than like I'm reading here that like yeah, they think it's just like a lightweight story, so it's obviously not super heavy on the story. I like that you can add different pieces of biomes together, almost like they're I don't know, like pieces of cake is what it reminds me of. But you know, this game looks like definitely like it's interesting. I don't know what the price is yet on it, but I'm looking forward to seeing it when it comes out and how it is. And so that was Above Snakes. You know, I'm curious as to actually something that was thrown to the snakes that I've heard about is the Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Bobby, did you look into that or play that? Because I've heard some dog shit reviews about it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the game has it been released or is it in like did people get early access? Because I see people playing the game and it's got
No,
a
it's
bunch of
out.
reviews. Okay, it is
it's
out
now.
officially. Yeah, so the game came out and I was shocked to look at the Steam page and see mixed reviews, and it's like 51%. Like people are very upset about the technical issues that this game has. Aside from that, it sounds like the game is better in every way than the original, but the technical issues have just, and this is just on the PC. I'm sure the console is fine, but the technical issues have just like completely ruined the game. There's a lot of stuttering, low frame rate, and it doesn't matter what hardware you have; it just doesn't run good on anything.
Did you
So-
see that article from that guy who reviewed the game and he tried 4 different video cards and he did 2 AMD and 2 NVIDIA all the way from a 1060 to a 4090, and like the game just had problems on every single one. And then after he tried the last one and tried installing his first video card that he was using, it locked him out of the game, and it said that this copy of
Oh.
the Star Wars game Jedi Survivor has been used on too many PCs, and that like it's just Denuvo is just going ass up. Like that's what everybody's complaining about, and I can understand why. It's just causing people with like multi-$1,000 computers to stutter, and of course you're going to get mad when you spend $3,500 on a computer and it doesn't run a game.
Well, I think you're going to get mad when you spend what $70 American USD on a game and it doesn't run correctly. I don't know. I'm like honestly shocked by this because the first one didn't have any of these problems. This is from Respawn, which has a pretty good track record. I wouldn't have imagined there being so many issues with this.
Well, in our listener questions, I think Warconius asks, do you think it's because these are coming from the new generation of consoles and they're porting from PS5 now instead of PS4? There seems to be less, they're struggling a lot more with it now. Maybe they have to get good at it again, getting good at ports again, because they had 12 years to port over from PlayStation. People got better at it, and now it's this was, I think, exclusively for PS5 and more. That's happening more and more. A lot of games were coming out for PS5 and PS4 simultaneously, but now you're getting more and more PS5 only, so you don't have that backward compatibility or whatever you want to call it. So personally, I messaged 5 people that were playing this on my Steam's friends list, and not one of them was having issues. So it's not everybody. So that's interesting. And John, surprisingly, he was playing on PS5, and he for the most part, we're having no time problems, but he did have a crash to desktop or crash to PS logo. I don't know what you call it on there. And he also had a little bit of stuttering, but nothing. He's like, the game is great. He's like, it's fantastic. I have no problems with it. But even there were some issues. So I think on a game like this, it would have been fine to have the PC. I mean, hindsight is 20/20, right? But delay your PC release 6 months. If you know that this is, obviously they must have known that something was going on, just delay it, because this is going to hurt your overall sales on Steam big time.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Well, didn't they change the return policy for this game that you can return it at any time?
Oh no, I hadn't heard that. That's good.
I don't know if that's for sure. If we can get a Nick fact check Sniper? That'd be awesome.
That sounds crazy
Check.
though.
No, well, they did it with The Last of Us, where they said anybody who wanted to do a return for The Last of Us that purchased it in the first week of it coming out could do it. And I think they're doing the same thing for Jedi Survivor, where they're removing the 2-hour rule and the possession of at least 2 weeks rule.
They are pretty good. I remember the original Jedi Fallen Order was on a pretty deep sale pretty quickly. Like we were like, whoa, this is $30 now. It went from 60 to 30 in like 3 months. Hopefully this goes the same way. I'm gonna buy. I mean, I can't wait to play this, but you know,
It looks
why
great.
not? Why not wait till it's cheaper and better?
Better.
Because all patched. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer in 6 months or whatever, 4 months, whatever it has to be.
I would tend to agree, definitely, especially if Star Wars is not your like thing like Sniper, like, and you can wait a little bit. Definitely just wait and play it when it's nice and ironed out, unless it never gets ironed out because it's EA, right?
I do remember what happened now. I'm going to get it fucked up, but it kind of, let's say it came out in October and then it was on that winter sale right after and I was like, what the fuck? It's been 2 months.
Yeah, I remember it came out late in the year because there was a lot of questions about whether or not it was eligible or should be considered for the Game Awards. Yeah.
That's a tough spot, man. It's a tough spot to come out at the end of the year.
I tried to find information about the Steam refunds, and I couldn't find anything on a quick search. No news or no updates on that. As far as I can tell, there was a question on Steam, and a moderator answered that it's still the same policy. So that's what I know right now.
All right.
Ooh, that information was as patchy as your mustache, Nick.
Thank you for those who are listening. It's pretty patchy. Even I think.
Pretty patchy. All right. Well, Jedi Survivor is going to need some patches too. So let's move it on to Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, all capital letters.
Yeah, I was expecting you to yell it. Yeah. So they dropped the official trailer, gameplay trailer for this game. For those who never heard of Armored Core, it is a mech game that pretty much instills the idea of ultimate creativity. You play an armored core, which that you literally just start with the core of the robot, like the generator, and then you just build it from there. You can have like a tank robot, or you can have like a super nimble robot, or you can have like literal treads or like a floating platform. It gets pretty crazy. From what the trailer shows, this game tends to have some sort of large variants of enemy types, and to include like trash and stuff like that. In the previous Armored Core games, it was just a lot of like 1v1 fights, where the way you would play the game, and there would be like a little bit of trash maybe, and like maybe it was just ads like your opponent is generating. But it seems like they're trying to actually put different enemies and different enemy types, and there seems to be like some sort of like actual open world aspect to it, which is huge, because in Armored Core you would just play in an arena and that's it. So it's going to be very different.
It looks great, man. It's pretty, I wouldn't say it's rare, but maybe like 3 or 4 times a year a trailer will be like, have me like, yeah, this is some shit right here. And this is one of them. This trailer definitely got me. And this company has been on a roll, so From Software's been killing it lately, and so yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this one. As far as like building out your mechs and stuff like that, like one of the enemies was, it almost looked like those. Christian, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What are those droids that roll and then
Droidicas.
Droidicas, yeah.
Droidicas.
Yeah, it kind of like with that, but instead of like it kind of it rolls in and then it opens up like a clamshell, and it's just like 100 missile shafts in there, and it just unleashes its load. It looked fucking awesome.
Yeah, it has like a missile version, and then it has like a shotgun version where it just plants and then shoots like a bunch of bullets at you. You're like, fuck.
Yeah. It's fucking cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this game. I've been playing this game since like the Armored Core series since I was like 12. So as a about to be 31-year-old, I'm excited.
How does this stack up against the customization and gameplay of BattleTech?
Man, so BattleTech is pretty customizable. I would say that this game has more checks and balances than BattleTech, obviously. Um, we don't know until the game actually comes out. If they include all the things that they have in the past, where you have like 300 head types and like that kind of shit, then yeah, it's gonna blow it out of the water. But like certain cores and certain like arms and legs have rules on like when you can attach them or how you can attach them and things like that. I think it's going to be more detailed than BattleTech. From Software goes pretty hard in the paint with their features, and especially if it's like a defining feature for a game, they're definitely going to go pretty hard on it.
I'm
I
excited.
will say this. I will say this too. This is, well, as far as I remember in the old ones, once you get down to the battles, it's action. This is not Mech Warrior, where it's a slow, methodical, slow stepping, or you with tank controls where you're going one direction, you turn your torso, and the very slow fights in Mech Warrior. In this, it's like boosters and side dashes and way faster than Mech Warrior. But Mech Warrior is probably the slowest combat of any action game ever. Like, it's super slow.
I think the best way to put this game is that you can kind of play how you want to. If you want to play the slow like mode, kind of like Mech Warrior, where you're literally just on tank treads and just trudging forward, you can. But if you want to play like the anime-esque boosters and dashing everywhere and like flying and shit like that, you can do that as well. There's laser swords and all kinds of shit. So
Very exciting. Cool.
Yeah. And with these graphics too, on top of all of that, it's pretty fucking sweet.
yeah. So that was Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. Check it out. What about Not for Broadcast? What's that, Emilio?
Another one from Tag Laura. We were talking a little bit, and I said, "What are you playing right now?" And he said this, and I said, "I've never heard about it." So I went and checked it out, and it's sitting at a 94% with 112. No, sorry, 7,000 reviews. And I've never seen anything like this. Maybe things that are akin to it, but not really this. So I believe you're kind of the editing booth for like a nightly news broadcast, and it's up to you to edit it. I think you're doing it live, so you're like
Mhm.
bleeping out the curse words and making sure the cameras are on the right persons at the right people at the right time. Which that's game stuff, but then also there's some sort of story that's a brewing, of course, and something's going on in the background, so you gotta get to the bottom of that as well. But he's really enjoying it, and the reviews are very good. 94% is pretty high up there. It's all FMV, well, half FMV, and then you have your controls as well. Yeah, it's ambitious, but it seems like they pulled it off. So, Bobby, I thought of you first when I saw this. What do you think?
I remember when this game came out. We talked about this before. I think it came up on the radar,
Mhm.
and it was on my wish list for a while. But then when it came out, I don't know. I just didn't have any interest in playing it. But yeah, I mean, it could be interesting. Could be
I
good.
I watched Tag Laurel play this for like a few hours actually, but I mean, eventually I had to stop because this game does remind me a lot of like Overcooked or the other kind of games where essentially you're doing a real person's job as a video game.
Yeah.
So I usually can't play these kind of games for very long because then I'm like, okay, I'm working and I'd rather get paid to work instead of paying somebody to work. And so but at that being said, this was really cool to watch in a lot of ways because there's certain things where like the frequency starts getting screwed up and like the mic is weird. You have to adjust that, and then there'll be like commercial breaks coming up. You have to load which commercial you want to use, and like it is pretty cool. It's a lot going on all at the same time. It is certainly a game to test your multitasking skills. That's for sure. But it did seem really funny and it was enjoyable to watch for a while. And I'm sure it would be enjoyable for some people to play, especially if people want to get into like a very, I guess, like mentally demanding game because there is a lot going on that you have to do. And so that can be really nice in its own way to like zone out and focus on that and just like complete these tasks and keep up with it.
One last thing about Tagloro is his name comes from his sister not being able to say Taylor and decided to say, or when she was a baby, and decided to say something harder, which is Tegloro, and that's why it's a screen name now. I always like that story. And that was not for broadcast, and I just closed the window. All right. What is Redfall? Bobby?
Redfall, we had talked about this 2 years ago when it was announced at E3 back in 2021. It
RIP
is
E3, forever in our hearts. Sorry, Bobby.
For real. Yeah, I miss it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, man. Like E3, it was just this big event that everybody went to, got sick, and then they made some announcements. Now everyone's on their own schedule. I don't think we've moved past E3. We don't need it anymore. But yeah, Redfall is a first-person shooter, open world action game. It is multiplayer. You play these survivors in a Massachusetts town called Redfall. The vampires have taken it over and blocked out the sun, like Mr. Burns. And it is by the company that made Dishonored and Prey, which I really liked Prey. I really liked the first Dishonored too. I never played the second one. This is Arcane Austin, so pretty good track record there. It is $70, which kind of confirms. I see this over and over again now. I think we've finally moved up to AAA games coming out at $70 with the optional deluxe edition for like $100 or $100. It looks really good. And I like the idea that it's co-op. You play these characters. It looks like kind of a Borderlands game, I guess. You can play it single player, but I don't know. $70. I'm not going to buy this sight unseen. I'm going to have to see how people like it when it comes out on May 1st.
I could have sworn it was coming to to Game Pass.
Oh, it might be.
It might. That sounds right. Yeah, it is coming to Game Pass on day one.
Do you think?
Mhm.
Do you think that's becoming a tactic where you put your non AAA game as a $70 price tag, but you put it on Game Pass so people download it there?
Oh,
I could see that. Yeah.
yeah. It's interesting.
Definitely.
Huh. Well, I think it's we're giving it away and it's not free, but we're doing this over here. We're already guaranteed a certain amount that we're going to get from that. So if we're already have our bases covered, let's just take a risk over here. I'm guessing. What do you think, Christian?
I don't know. I wouldn't say people are pricing their game intentionally high to make Game Pass more attractive.
No, that's not. Well, that was Nick's idea.
Well, I think they get paid either way, whether you get the game on Game Pass or you buy it on Steam. Like they're still getting paid. It's just in one case Microsoft's paying it, and in the other case the person is paying it. I remember hearing or reading somewhere that a developer doesn't get money on Game Pass until the game is installed, even if it's never played. It doesn't use up that license until the game's installed, and that's when the actual transaction happens.
I can't imagine it's the same cut. That's going to be.
No,
my
I
guess.
don't think it's probably
nowhere.
even close.
I don't
a
think it's
bulk
anywhere
price.
near. Yeah, I think, but we're basing that on just no business acumen at all. Yeah, but yeah, I think it looks good. I can't tell. Bobby, is new Moneybags Bobby a Game Pass subscriber?
No, not yet, man. I mean, I got Sea of Thieves on Steam, and that's really what I've been playing a lot lately. So there really hasn't been any reason for me to get Game Pass. But I don't know. If this game turns out to be good and everybody's playing it, then yeah, I'll get Game Pass.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
All right, that was Redfall. And then we've got Warhammer 40K Boltgun.
Yeah, aka Bobby's summer gift of the summer. So this has been on people's radars for a while. It's definitely a universe in which this style of game would definitely kind of exceed expectations, in my opinion. This is a Doom-like, or what is it called? What was a boomer shooter?
A Doom-like. I like that though.
Yeah, it's a boomer shooter. and it's set in the Warhammer 40k universe. You play a Ultramarine captain, I believe, which doesn't really matter to anybody who cares. But the main thing is that the enemy variety is like quadruple of what Doom is. There's just all different kinds of humans to fight, space marines to fight, demons of different categories to fight. People are already giving it raving reviews, and it's only $20. So this is an immediate pickup for me. I've already actually purchased it. It's 10% off right now. And the reason why it's getting a lot of popularity right now is that they announced the date of release, and it's in 3 weeks. So people are like, hey, if you're going to announce a game, announce it. But when you announce the release date, let's make it, earlier than later. And so that's what they did. They were like, soon. And then they were like, all right, 3 weeks. So
Those are the nicest fucking announcements when they're like, here it is, and then they're like, you can download it right now. And everybody's like, what? Like those are the best ones. But like, yeah, like a couple weeks, that's pretty sweet. That's a nice spot to be in. Like 3 weeks from now, you're going to be playing this or whatever. But
yeah, so I'm
as
waiting
far
for.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Enemy variety, dude. When your enemies are made up of 17 pixels, like, yeah, you can get crazy with the enemy types. So, but that's good. I mean, for a lore head like yourself, you're like, oh, that's the guy from behind the guy.
From the guy.
And like I see some stuff, like even I have some of the models that are in the game, and I'm just like, oh my god, he's like a little pixelated dude. And I'm like, all right, cool, it's cute. And then bang, he's dead. Look at that.
Have you ever played one, Nick? Boomer shooter?
Oh, dude, I've beaten all the Dooms. I've played a couple of different ones I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I like them, but they're just not like my thing. But like obviously
Nightmare
this
Reaper,
one,
with yours truly, and I know you liked it, right?
yeah, it was pretty good.
I liked it. I
thought it was all right. Yeah, this is Boltgun. It's a boomer shooter. Pick it up right now for $19.99 or $17.99 American. And then what is Open Brush, Emilio?
I don't know if I did a follow up on. So a couple weeks ago, I brought up Tilt Brush on VR for Amanda as a suggestion for Amanda. It's a painting game that you can paint in 3D space. So you just make a stroke right here, and that stroke stays there, so you can paint things in total virtual reality. And I mentioned on the podcast that it never goes on sale. And so I forget, somebody picked up on that and commented that that Google kind of abandoned the whole project. And so I wonder whether even money goes if you buy it right now. I wonder if it just goes into a pit somewhere that nobody cares about. But so there's been no updates, but go to all PC gaming community picked up where Google left off and made Open Brush, which is a community driven open source game and they updated it at the end of last month, so they're continuously making this better and better, and it's free. That's the best part. So you can just grab your goggles, pretend to paint, and send us I'm sure you're going to make a penis on here, so send us that, I guess. And then
He wants your penis paintings. Screenshot it, send it to him.
Give me that Jonah Hill level in Superbad level of penis paintings. That's what I want. Man. I want those works of art. I want the penis gorilla eating the penis banana. Oh, yeah. I want the penis helicopter. I want all that shit.
Dude, we're done with two circles and a rectangle,
Yeah. We want high art.
Yeah.
On our low brow.
This is awesome.
Yeah, dude. It's free. Go
I
get
just
it.
Downloaded it.
This is the last time we heard from Amanda now. She's going to be my multi-million-dollar artist.
I'll probably paint a bunch of tree titties and then be like, all right, that's good enough. And then put it down.
How many did you paint? About 3,000.
A forest worth. It's a forest of tree titties.
Yeah, so that's it for On the Radar. We're jumping over to highlights, which are games we actually did play, and we can speak more intently about, I guess. Who wants to kick it off? I guess Days.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'll kick it off with some Destiny 2. I'm slowly learning how to play this game. I think the problem is that every time I play this game, I'm like pretty fucking wrecked. So if you catch my drift, it's like my party game. I feel like everybody kind of has that game where it's like you can kind of zone out, and it's like the dumb fun game, right? And so
Yeah.
this to me is that, because I love like the fact that they kind of assist your aim. Like it's really easy to shoot and kill enemies in Destiny 2, and so it's been a blast. I'm playing a hunter. I really love the crossbow, and I'm just learning about like the different types of guns and like the void, I want to say void magic. It's not, I don't think it's that, but like the void type guns and all the different kinds of shit that they've got. And it's been a blast. I've been doing a lot of different strikes and just running around killing things. And I'm enjoying my time a lot with Destiny 2. I'm really looking forward though to when it like truly sinks in of like how to play and like more of, maybe not the meta truly, because I don't know if I'll go down that deep of a hole with this game, but once it starts like really sinking in, I think it's going to be awesome, because it already is quite fun.
Shit, I don't know what else to say about Destiny 2. I tried this game a long time ago, and I'm always a bit overwhelmed by like the amount of content. I don't like when you first join an MMO that's been going on for a super long time. It almost feels to me that I missed out on all this stuff, and now I have to catch up. And anyone I play with isn't going to be at the same level. Was that the case for you?
No, the buddy I was playing with, Nocte, he's like really much higher level than I am, but he was really good at like showing around and kind of like what we need to do and guiding me to it. But I agree, and that's always kind of the downfall to trying to join in on an MMO that's been established for so long. And I do feel bad for Nocte and the other way of playing Elder Scrolls Online, because I'm sure it's like that for him. Even though I've been playing Elder Scrolls Online for 9 years, like just joining that also can feel super overwhelming, and that's how I feel with Destiny 2. That's why like I'm really looking forward to when it does actually sink in. um and it's because, yeah, the same thing, like I was super overwhelmed in the beginning of just the sheer amount of stuff that you can do, and like what is all of this shit, what is bounties versus strikes versus all of this. But then like slowly over time, kind of whittling it away, like it makes more sense to me. It does feel a lot like I'm playing like a Halo MMO, which is awesome and definitely hits the right nostalgic points, right? And so I don't know, I guess in a way, like if you wanted to get back into it, you either find a good friend that has played a lot and can show you around, or just start off with going really slow and like trying to make friends in the game to show you around and guide you, because it does start to really click. But there's a lot for sure in the beginning. It's not as crazy as like Guild Wars 2 though, dude. Oh my god, have you ever tried going back into that?
No, but I
I
would. That sounds exciting.
Guild Wars 2? No, it's not. You'd think it's exciting. Then you're gonna log in and you're gonna see all the spam for their cash shop, and then you're gonna be like, "Fuck this," and close it down.
It's
Yeah.
pretty egregious, man. Like I got invited to play Guild Wars 2 like a couple months ago, and I logged in and I'm like, holy fuck, am I like on a website from like 2003? Like, why is this like this?
Oh,
It's
interesting.
it's too much. It's not. I don't think it's fun at all. Like when I logged into, see, so like I played Destiny 2 right when it released. I do remember playing that with Clown Lotion, or the Lotion, and it was kind of fun. But then like I got really bored quickly and was like, not really into it. And it definitely feels like a totally different game now, playing it right now, than it did when it released. Because I know that a lot of people have talked about how like it was ass when it released, and so they just haven't even tried it. But it honestly does feel a lot more cohesive, even though it obviously is also too overwhelming just initially, because there's so much that you can do. But it's nowhere near the level of some of these MMOs where like they've just gotten out of hand, like Guild Wars 2,
Yeah.
um
I'm
I remember the Destiny 2 launch, and that shit was rough. There was
Really?
maybe about 5 hours worth of content in the game.
I don't
if
remember
that.
anyone being pissed. When Destiny 2 launched, I remember doing a lot of Crucible. It must have been because there just wasn't that much. Crucible is like the PvP.
Yeah, Crucible's a
Yeah,
PvP.
yeah. For anyone listening who doesn't know. And maybe it was because there wasn't a lot of comments. So, but Amanda, I was going to ask you, when you're wrecked, are you wrecking fools? Are you in there in the PvP? Are you killing people?
I'm pretty fucked up and I don't play PvP at all because I'm fucked up. So no. I get too messed up for that, man. So it's very fun and therapeutic to just do the PvE, and I like the PvE a lot more anyway. I
Okay.
haven't explored too much with the Crucible PvP. I'm very particular with my PvP. Typically the only time I like to play it is when it's like a true shooter, a looter shooter, like Call of Duty, Tarkov, like that PvP I really like. I like PvP on Rust because all of that stuff's kind of about the community, and that is something that's nice with, like, for me, like it's Jew for Use community. We'll get together and play like those kind of games, and I like the PvP of that. But just kind of on my own or with one other person, I normally don't do too much PvP. I like PvE.
It's funny you should mention Rust because I actually played that this week. I didn't put it in the show notes because I wasn't really going to talk about it. I played it very quickly, but it's funny because you remember I was talking about my friend's kid who I built the computer for, showed him how to build the computer. He's really into crafting survival games. And I'm just like, oh man, it's too bad.
Got you in there? He got you in, Russ? God damn.
Well,
Dude.
he was going to buy a game. He had like $20 to buy a game, and he's been watching a lot of YouTube, and he sees people playing Rust. And so he really wants to play Rust. And I'm trying to talk him into Sea of Thieves, but he's not going for it. So he gets Rust, and I was like, all right, let's play a little bit. And for the first time in years, I log into Rust, and I forgot you spawn butt naked in that game.
Yeah.
And
Literally.
either gender. I was like, oh my God, this kid's like 8 or something. I don't know if this game's appropriate for him.
Oh no. Yeah.
And then of course, it's there's other players in there, and the things they say are not going to be great, but it was all right. But it was weird to jump back into that game.
Bobby, tell the class what you did. You spawned in butt naked, and we all know how. Did you go up to a tree? And what did you do? Tell us what you did.
First I think you spawn with a rock. So you take your rock and then you smash it against a tree a few times, and then you can make an axe, and then you can smash that against a tree a few times and get more stuff. So
how did it feel cutting down trees?
Oh my God. Yeah. Didn't feel great, man. Felt like my soul left my body. But then it got dark, and it gets pitch black at nighttime in that game. And then some naked guy came up and clubbed me to death with a rock. So put me out of my
about
misery.
right. Yeah, that sounds like a normal day's run in Rust.
Fortunately, I don't know if it was like this before, but fortunately, when you spawn, you usually spawn along the coast, and the map has a grid. So you could say I'm at G19, and they usually aren't too far away, and they can find you pretty quickly. I just remember the days of DayZ where it's just like, okay, let's spend the first 45 minutes of playing together trying to find each other.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Rust has come a long way. Not the player base though, but the game has. Dude, it's honestly every reason why I stopped playing that game is like me and my friends will go pretty hardcore on a server if we don't get our own. And then like some 12-year-old that's like homeschooled because his mom hates his ADHD and his teachers do too, just bombs your whole house because he has nothing fucking better to do. And you're like, all right, this is great. I'm done.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all that work. Emilio, we can't hear you, buddy.
There's some sweaty people on that game, that's for sure. But yeah, that was Rust that we were talking about. But the game that I was playing a lot was Destiny 2. But that in old games that are really fun to revisit and check out, is Dying Light 2, which I haven't played in a hot minute. But I see, Emilio, that you played some of Dying Light 2. What was that like?
Oh no, Emilio just had some internet issues, so he dropped.
He's gone. Let's all get naked.
He's gone. Sweet. All right. Well, we can. I guess that's all right. We can. You can tell me about a Resident 4 remake, because that's another old game that is coming back into the spotlight.
Dude, it is awesome. I got to play a little bit more of it, about another 3 hours of it, because it took me 2 days to find my PS5 in all the boxes. Man, I will say that this game does have some difficulty spikes, and I wasn't expecting it at all. Like I just got the NPC like follower that you get in the game, and the game kicks you in the dick pretty hard immediately. It graphically, it's amazing. It's using the other remake engines, and that's why they make these games so quickly. The combat is smooth as hell. It's a mixture of quick time events and just regular shooty and movie. If you like zombie games and you've never played Resident Evil 4, I 100% agree that you should play it. From the first boss fight to the last, it's a great game. I'm pretty far into it. I played it when I was younger, and I borrowed my friend's GameCube to play it. If that tells you how old I am. But if you have the time and you want to sink in 12 hours into a game, and you want to I always say this, it's a Japanese version of an action movie. An American action movie is every Resident Evil game. And the writing is super cheesy and corny, but it's still pretty fun. The combat alone is worth it. But yeah, that's have any of you guys ever played any of the remakes at all?
I've only played
No.
2 or 3 Resident Evil games in my entire life, and they were the later ones.
Oh, really? Resident Evil Village was pretty good, and then Resident Evil 7 was really good as well. I would say that this is on par with those as far as like graphics and actual like gameplay and stuff, because it's pretty different compared to the older, like the Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, because it was really the first kind of hybrid Resident Evil where it was kind of like an action game and a zombie game, but it was the perfect balance, because after this, the series just went 100% action. And so this is like the perfect balance. A lot of people say that this is the number one Resident Evil game. Like Resident Evil 4 is the best one out of all of them. And I think Village is up there for me, but I think 7 is the best because it just completely flips the genre. I mean, the whole like sequence of types of games that Resident Evil was, and it makes it an actual horror game again. So yeah, I was Resident Evil.
Am I coming in now?
Hell yeah,
You are coming in.
All right. Nick, does any of this scare you anymore?
Yeah, it does, dude. When a Spanish man with an axe and then another Spanish man with a chainsaw and then like 3 Spanish ladies that could turn into tentacle monsters are chasing you in a church, it's pretty scary.
I saw some of the video looks pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I know I was trying to talk the whole time. I was trying to talk over people, but my hardware wouldn't let me. I gotta defend Guild Wars 2 a little bit. John, the very specific circumstances where this is an okay game. If you're happen to be staying at somebody's hotel, I mean their basement in a snowstorm, you can't go anywhere, and you're playing on land, and you and your buddy are looking hard for something to play for a long session. We played that shit for 5 hours, had a great time actually, and it's free. And we just started, I think because we're playing LAN and we're just talking to each other in normal voice, and we're not even using anything in the game other than the game itself. There's some really strong things in that game, like they really pushed you to explore. And on every map there was like a high point that they wanted you to get to get XP, and then once you get there, you get the vista, and then it does the whole thing. The core game, maybe it's just a skeleton of itself now, or maybe it's its old stuff, but it just started hoarding itself out.
No, it's too much. I think it's like the epitome of gluttony now with an MMO. Like, I don't know.
Bloated.
I was really into Guild Wars 2. Like, I had 5 characters maxed out, and my one Mesmer was awesome with PvP, because that's what we used to do in college. Was there'd be like 5 of us sitting around a dining table with our laptops all playing Guild Wars 2 together without headsets, because we were all together, and like we loved that shit. We would just spend hours smoking weed and exploring entire maps. So getting all the vistas, fighting and doing all the world events, and getting all the points of interest and everything. Loved that game very, very much. That's why it's very hard for me to try and go back and play it, because I'm just like, what is all this fucking trash in my face being thrown at me when the game did not need that? It didn't need it. It was already amazing. Like
Nick, back on the Resident Evil
4
thing. So 5, is that where the series jumped the shark?
Yeah, very much so.
So do you think this is where the remakes end?
Yes, I either that, or what I think they may do is what they did with 2, where they kind of changed the game up a little bit. I think what they're going to do, if they do remake 5, is they're going to make it an actual horror game. Bar like
it already is a horror game.
It's not even a horror,
scary.
Dude. It is not, when you get a rocket launcher and you're like, goodbye, scary man. It's like It's
I don't believe
it's not
you.
very scary.
But
The
what was the one? What was the first remake they made? That
2.
wasn't two.
It was 2. No one ever
that
makes
was
the
scary
original.
as shit, dude, wasn't it?
Dude, yeah, the big giant gray guy just walking through walls, and he's like, "I'm gonna get your booty," but he doesn't say a word. It's fucking terrifying, dude. And that's what makes that game scary, is that you're just locked into rooms and you constantly have to avoid this terror that is following you. Just this
I hate that.
unending
I hate that
dread.
so much.
So that is a
Resident Evil 4 remake.
remake.
What about
and-
Dying Light 2? That's more zombies. Let's keep the zombie train going, son.
Damn it! I really wanted to jump. I wanted to do the Capcom thing.
Dude,
'cause I
what?
had-
Oh, you want to do a Capcom time? You want to do Street Fighter 6?
yeah, I do,
we can
because
do that.
you had mentioned like the dialogue, and Japanese dialogue being so like goofy and weird, but also just fun.
It's not.
and-
It's not goofy. It's, you know what kills me, dude? Like I bought the Final Fantasy VII remake, right? And I love Final Fantasy VII. But what fucking kills me is the goddamn anime noises. It sounds like everybody's getting fucking tickled or touched every 5 seconds. It's like, Tifa, shoot that guy over there. And you're like, what? Like, why is that a thing? Or like, it just be completely quiet. Like just every 5 fucking seconds, dude. I'm just like, all right, man.
Tickled or touched did it for me, Asker.
Tickled or touched.
It's
Name of the cast.
We're gonna have a new segment. It's gonna be called Tickled or Touched. We're gonna play sound effects from fucking video games, and you tell me if it's from a porn game or if it's from an actual video game.
I
That is so
actually
good.
really fucking love that.
Great
If you don't
segue.
have, if you don't have
Great
that
idea.
queued up by next week, I'm going to be really upset. Yeah. But about the dialogue. Okay, so Street Fighter 6, the demo's out. You can grab it and play it right now. You can only play with 2 characters, Ryu and their new poster boy, which is whatever his name, Luke, I guess. So I guess I'll talk about Street Fighter itself first. So there's still the super bars, right? Level 1, 2, and 3. You can do supers of 1, 2, or 3 power, and that's been there for a very long time. And it's almost a little subdued. It's very small, and it's at the bottom. What's big and at the front of the game is right under your life bar. You have this oh shit! I'm gonna drive meter. So there's these like little bars. I want to say there's like 10 of them, and you can use them for drive attacks. So there's like 2 buttons you can push together, and it'll do a drive attack, which is like it's the same for everybody. And it does the same thing, and it's very quick. So it's definitely a forefront in the game. To counter that, there's also drive counters. So every character in the game now has a counter. So besides all the different characters and everything they can do, if you get really good at drive attacks and drive counters, you'll be pretty good at this game. Besides that, the accessibility is through the roof now. They have 3 control schemes. They have classic, where you do a Hadouken by like doing the actual input and pushing the button. But they also have 2 new skill schemes. There's multiple button presses, so you push like a certain 2 buttons together, and it'll do a special move instead of you having to do the input. But then here's the last one, which is, I mean, I don't know where this is going to go, or why somebody wouldn't pick this if they weren't like an old school vet. But now there's just a special moves button, and you just push it, and depending on what direction it's like Smash Brothers. If you push right and special move, it's a Hadouken. If you push up and this button, it's a Dragon Punch. You don't have to do the inputs anymore. Which,
do you have an idea of why they might have done that?
I think for accessibility and trying to get people. I think when somebody says Street Fighter 6, right, they go, man, this has been around a long time. Like that's kind of intimidating, because people have been playing this thing for 20 years now. So that's intimidating. So if it says, really easy to learn, which it's never been, not it's easy to learn, but difficult to master. But if you lower that bar for people being able to be at least competitive, because the difference between somebody who has a little bit of knowledge versus somebody just smashing buttons is huge. The person smashing buttons has zero chance most of the time. So this will give a new player at least, you know, some ability versus somebody who's playing, you know, that has some history with the game. That's what I think. Because if you look at Dragon Ball Z, like one of its best attributes was how accessible it was. Bobby, you played it, right? It was one of your homeworks before. And did you find it like easy to learn?
I did. I'm trying to remember. That was a long time ago, but yeah, I don't think it was that difficult.
Yeah. So I think that's what they're going for here. I love it. I think it looks great. It plays great. I have no complaints about that part of it. And I do like, you know, the more players a game has, the better it is. On the other side of this is I don't know what they call it, the world conquest mode or whatever it is.
The
So
story
you can
mode,
build
pretty
your own
much.
character. What was that?
I said the story mode, pretty much.
No, it's not. So there is the story mode campaign,
Oh.
but then this is like create your own character, like, and boy, can you create your own character. Literally, I mean, you can make anything. I posted my character. I tried to make myself in Street Fighter, and I posted it in the Discord. But yeah, you can make anything from Dalsum looking guy with stretchy arms to, I mean, you can do a lot. And so you start this like this campaign where you start at a gym and you go into this like 3D world and you're running around, and anybody you bump into you can fight. And they're NPCs, right? And you get quests. It's like an MMO without other people in it at first, and you start playing it, and then I guess the further you get these points, and you can spend them on skill points. There's a skill tree, and you can make your own character with their own moveset. Completely original character, however you want. Obviously, you know, you can learn flash kick if you go and fight Guile, or you can learn the Hadouken by going and fight Ryu or whatever. I don't know if that part of the game is for me, but I think it's interesting and it works really well. And this is where I ran into some of that goofy dialogue, but it was fun the whole time. I actually never rolled my eyes or anything. I think they did an exceptional job with this game. I'm glad that I have it on our what is it? I don't even know what to call it. Our
fantasy draft pool
draft
game?
pool
What is
game pool thing.
It's so
Yeah.
Why is the
I think
name
it's gonna
so
do
long?
well. So I'm looking forward to this. This is probably a day one purchase for me.
And that is
Sorry, I
coming
kinda
out
rambled for a
June
bit.
1st.
Yeah, June 1st. So really soon.
Summer
Cool.
release.
Who's getting
Yeah.
the
So
stick?
that was Street Fighter 6 demo. Go get it right now. It's free. And Tainted Grail. Finally, Bobby, I've been trying to get you to play this for like a year, and then you're just going to come here and shit on it.
Well, at first I was not digging this game. So this is way more, it's a card battler game, which I really love that genre. Monster Train is probably my favorite. But I started playing it and I didn't realize how much of an RPG this game is. Or it's a roguelike as well. Like you die and then you start over again, but you have benefits based on your last run. There is a lot of text in this as well. Like they hit you with a lot of dialogue at first. Not a fan of that. But once I got going in this, I actually really started to enjoy it. I feel like all these card battler games are way more on the cartoony side, and this one tries to be a lot more serious. It's got that, high concept fantasy look to it, but it really feels like, other than the actual card based combat, which are the battles you get into, everything else feels like, I don't know, Diablo, or maybe even a little like Divinity Original Sin. Like graphically, it looks like that. And also just how you wander around the map. You've got like an inn or a starting area. You go, you meet people, you get quests that you have to accomplish. So it's just way more of an RPG than I thought it would be. And of course, when I first started playing, I thought this is too simple. Like you have blocks, then you have attacks, and then of course, as the game goes on, you start getting more different kinds of cards that you can make interesting decks with, but I still haven't gotten to that point yet where I feel like I can really find synergy between the cards. I can kind of see it. Like I've seen like, oh, this one works well if you do lots of little attacks, or this one if you do big attacks. So I don't know. I just got to build out my deck before I have something meaningful. But I'm actually into it. Like I'm kind of hooked on it. I'm going to keep playing this next week because I haven't gotten too far into it yet. And I haven't unlocked any of the other characters or classes. I don't really care for the starting one, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's where it really starts to get deep, man, with the other characters, because you start playing them in completely different ways. And they also have their entire original decks as well. Like I don't think like the warrior shares any cards with the, except for maybe block with the archer or whatever.
Oh, so
And
it's
then
an entirely new deck. Okay,
yeah,
that's cool.
I believe so. And not just that, so you'll get two versions of an archer. They're named whatever they are, but
Mhm.
they have the same deck, but they play completely different. And that gets really interesting when you get to the last characters. So you get like, there's a necromancer, right? And so he's all about like making little buddies and having the buddies fight for him, like a necromancer.
Mhm.
But then there's like a blood mage version where he's all about sacrificing his own guys as fast as possible. And so you want to make them and kill them as fast as possible, and you get stronger. And it's the same deck, but you're just doing, it's a different approach. So that's where this game really blossoms, is where you start unlocking all these
Yeah.
different characters.
And it's just a different type of game than some of the other card battlers. If you take Slay the Spire, that gets right to it. That's just like, we're all about the combat and we're going to throw you right into it. You choose your little path, but outside of that, you're just doing the same thing over and over again, which is really enjoyable. Like, I really like that. And even the first one that I played, Grifflins, like that's a little more on the RPG side. And I really enjoyed the combat in that game. But when I discovered these other ones like Monster Train and Slay the Spire that focused more just on that, I really like that. So this was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it. Like they even have, you manage your inventory. You've got to like slot items and you have healing potions. Like it really is a lot more than any other card battler game I've played. It's a lot more like an RPG, and I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about that, but I am enjoying it. So
Two things I want to mention about it too that I guess I liked was, you're actually exploring a deep dark forest, and it's literally
mhm.
dark, and you need to
Yeah,
explore
you've
it
got
with
to have the
torches.
candles, the
Yeah,
the
and the
weird
candles run
candles
out.
they call it.
Is it Michigan or anywhere in particular?
And when you're out in the forest and your shit starts to dwindle and you don't have another one, it's like, I better figure out what I'm doing real quick here, because
Mhm.
you can paint yourself in a corner pretty quick.
Yeah, it reminds me of Darkest Dungeon a little bit because in Darkest Dungeon you've got to keep your torch up. Now, if your torch goes if it gets dim, then it just creates all these disadvantages for you. And that's kind of what happens in Tainted Grail as well. Like when your weird candle gets low, weird candle is what you use to relight your flame, but I can't remember what it's called. Like weird, WIRD is what they call like this darkness that's creeping in. But when it gets low, you'll get these cards thrown into your deck. When the
Mhm.
torch is low, you get bad cards thrown into your deck. When the torch is high, then you get good cards. And I really like these cards too because they mix things up, but they also give you an option. They say play it this turn and you get this benefit, or leave it in your hand, and if you don't play it, then you get this other benefit. So it's going to benefit you either way, but you get to choose how.
Is this the
And
most unique card battler you've played, Bobby? Sorry to interrupt. But
Well, I haven't played enough of this to really say because I've got to get to that point where I can find the synergies and really see all the different kind of builds. But I don't know. It's going to be tough to beat Monster Train. I'll say that. Like that still is. I still go back to Monster Train. And I play a couple rounds of that here and there. This is just different. I mean, if you really like the RPG and you're looking for a little more of like a little more than just the core gameplay loop, then yeah, I could see how people would really like this one more. But I don't know. I'm going to need more time with it. Is my audio cutting out? By the way,
no,
no,
you're
you
good.
sound
No, not at
perfect.
all.
okay.
Yeah. And lastly, Bobby alluded to the rogue lightness of it. Your character doesn't get stronger between runs, but the village you are trying to build up gets stronger. So
Yeah. Well, you also
the
unlock new cards too,
yeah, that's true.
like new cards and new runes, I think they're called, or some other thing. Like you just unlock stuff so you can get them in the next round. But yeah, you build that village up.
It's
Amanda
hard to
and Nick.
say because like there's so many of them, but this might be my favorite card battler. I don't remember
Cool.
though.
Really, wow.
Wow.
And it's still in early access too. And it's not a full release yet.
Oh, Sniper. While you were clicking around there, I saw another Tainted Grail thing. What is that? Like a different game, or is it DLC, or what was it?
Yeah, it looks to be a bunch of DLC down here.
Yeah, Fall of Avalon is the DLC.
Oh, okay. It's been a long time. I don't know if I want to get back into this, but that's interesting. I didn't know there was a DLC. How was the
Yeah.
DLC received? Let's check that out.
Mostly positive for Fall
Okay.
of Avalon.
78%. That's pretty good.
I mean, is that, I'm a little confused. Is Tainted Grail, is that just the subtitle? This looks like the main game. I don't know if this is actually.
Yeah. Is
No,
this a
there's
different
Tainted
game?
Grail Conquest and Tainted Grail Fall of Avalon, and they look like two separate games.
Yeah. It's looking like Avalon's its own game.
Okay, so I played Conquest, which isn't in early access. That one is out right now for $20.
Okay. Yeah, this looks like a first-person action RPG. All right. We don't know what we're talking about.
Live research. Who's got the
Okay.
stick, Bobby?
All right, let's move it on to Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, so I have been playing a shit load of Elder Scrolls Online. That's probably the most that I've been playing this week is this because I am trying to finish the High Isle expansion pack, or yeah, I think it's an expansion or an additional chapter or whatever, because I do really love the end game content in this game. I think it's fantastic. Like I really loved Morrowind. I think Somerset is the best one that they have out there. That was awesome. That whole story and the world that you got to explore, the Somerset Isles, like it was just awesome. So High Isle I really want to check out. And I've been thinking a lot about you, Bobby, with this because this shit is like Sea of Thieves and Elder Scrolls. It's all about like pirates and being on ships and going to an archipelago, and you're kind of exploring and you're investigating this shipwreck and like going in and grabbing treasure. When you combine it with the previous DLC, which was I think the Greymoor one of Skyrim, they have this skill line of antiquities where you can excavate stuff and like pull up relics and treasure and go treasure hunting, which is really fun when you are looking for treasure and looting and dealing with pirates in the High Isle. And so it's been really cool so far and I've been enjoying it kind of for the most part. I don't really feel like High Isle is like an incredibly impressive new chapter to me in comparison to some of the other ones. Like I definitely liked Vardenfell and Elsewhere, and obviously Somerset way more than this one. But this one still is really cool. And today I explored the prologue to the new one coming out, Necrom, where you're going to one of the Telvanni isles and like Sadrith Mora and like those places. So revisiting kind of some Morrowind um land and Morrowind lore. So you know I'm up that fucking alley because that is my all-time favorite goddamn game, The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. So I definitely wanted to check that out. And it's so cool because it is like you're essentially a proxy for Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric lord of like knowledge and seeking. And so everything is centered around like the eye and like seeing everything and like finding knowledge. And it's just it seems like it's going to be really fun with Necrom. So like I pre-ordered it and I'm checking out the prologue to it right now, and it's kind of interesting trying to find um like the connection between essentially their underworld and Nirn, which is the world that you're on, because I guess the fabric of it is kind of getting distorted and messed with by necromancers and like vampiric mercenaries and shit. And so like it's very, I think the new chapter is about to be very dark and very nerdy at the same time, which will be pretty cool and done in like a dark elf type of world, especially with the Telvannis. It'll be, I think, really, I'm really excited for it, and I've been really diving into this game and having a lot of fun of just playing solo and just diving into the story, because that's how I've always loved to play Elder Scrolls Online, is actually solo. I play it like it's Skyrim, and I like to read the stuff and go into all of the crates and barrels, because especially if you're an ESO Plus member, which is like $15 a month, I think you can do like a 90-day, 180-day, and like a 360-day like bracket, a 365-day bracket. And so like there's tiers to that, but I think it's worth it if you're really into the game and playing it like I am, which is almost every day, just for the crafting bag, so that way you can have unlimited stuff, which is, like I said, I love to go into all the crates and barrels and everything anyway, so I don't actually have to ever worry about my inventory being too full because I'm an ESO Plus member.
ESO
And the cool
Plus, I feel like there's a spot that they missed there. You know, they could have done something like the Plunder Pass. You know, ESO Plus,
Yeah.
it just doesn't invoke, like, I don't really want to give my money to that. But the Plunder Pass,
yeah.
every time I hear it, I like open my wallet, like, you know, it just magically my card is flying through the air.
I wonder what it would be if they were to come up with that. Any listeners that are big fans of Elder Scrolls, like, you should message that in the hangout of our Discord. I'd love to hear like some ideas of what it should be renamed, you know? Maybe we could send them to ZeniMax and be like, fix your shit.
Days, is there any risk of getting burnt out before this DLC comes out?
I don't think so. Because there's a lot of other things that I've been wanting to finish and kind of do. And I just recently discovered the Antiquities line. And so like that opens up a whole new world of doing things. There was, because the one thing that I love so much about the Elder Scrolls Online is that there really are so many different ways to play. Back with that group, the Jew for You group, like there's a guy in there, Virus, and like every time I play with him, we play the game like it is, like, it brings me back to Guild Wars 2. Actually, it's very like efficient. We move through everything like it's room temperature butter. It's just like nothing is difficult, because him and I can rotate and both know exactly what the fuck we're doing, and like are very good at what we're doing. And so we'll do dungeon runs, and like he would be a good person to play PvP with. And so there's like always different ways to play the game, but usually I get really sucked into the game when I start focusing on a chapter and like the storyline of it, because it is the story that made me fall in love with and be obsessed with the Elder Scrolls to begin with, and it's the lore that I know the most out of all like game IPs is Elder Scrolls. So to me, when I start getting into a story, it's like I'll be here for a while.
And how excited are you about Skywind and, like a Morrowind coming out in the Skyrim engine? And do you know about it, or
Yeah,
are you feeling excited about it? Like this?
I know about it. I'm not so into it. Like, especially with Morrowind in a way, like I almost do prefer like the Morrowind inspired. It's so weird saying that something's inspired by ESO, because like the time frame of ESO is actually technically the first. Like it's before all the games. It's like right when all the races started interacting with each other, which is why they had the Alliance War and are fighting each other as well, because it's before like the entire planet of Nirn like realized that there were other civilizations on the other side of it. And so it is like the starting point in ESO, but at the same time, knowing what we all know and growing up and like being the age that I am, at least, like comparing it to Morrowind, I would prefer the ESO Morrowind adaptations of stuff. So like Necrom's going to be really awesome for me, because like I loved Sadrith Mora, and I thought the Telvannis were fascinating in Morrowind. And so to me, it's going to be really cool to play it this way. Whereas if I were to go back as Skywind, it would be Morrowind, but just looks cooler. And
Right.
so, I mean, I absolutely dissected Morrowind. Like my best friend and I, we would sit next to each other and play Xbox, like right next to each other, and like broke the game. We found cheats. We played every single way we could. I mean, like I was obsessed with Morrowind. So it's like, I don't need to play it. I still have a lot of those quests
I have muscle
memorized.
memory of Morrowind.
Yeah, I do. There's some quests where it's just like I have them memorized still, and because I used to like play them out in real life with my friends out in the woods. Like it's, I
Oh
was
my
obsessed with
God.
it. Yeah, like I loved Morrowind, dude.
Wow.
So to me, it's much more exciting to get something that is new but done in the same canon in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
done in the same world. And so I'd rather have that because then it's just like, oh, this is dope, like, and new and fresh and kind of just like an interesting take on something that I do feel like I've kind of beaten to the ground, which is Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind.
I went back to Morrowind and I just disregarded Emilio's advice like a fool. I used no mods. I went in Morrowind original, and I lasted about an hour. I'm like, I'm definitely gonna finish it. You know, I'm gonna commit to this RPG. And after an hour, I'm like, fuck, I cannot. I can't. I can't go back. I have all this nostalgia, and it's just not there. I need to mod
It's
it.
too hard.
I need to upgrade it. Yeah.
This is I never played it, but I remember I was getting on a plane or something, and this guy had this huge laptop, and I was like, "What are you playing?" Because I saw this, I saw a sword and a board, and I was like, "What are you playing?" And he's like, "Oh, this is called Morrowind." I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" He's like, "See those mountains over there?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I could go to them." I was like, "No way." He's like, "Yep." And then it just became like a myth for me. I was like, "There's this PC game out there that I could play and go to the mountains," but I never actually got around to it because EverQuest took over my life completely.
Never made it to those mountains.
Never did.
So you have to, even if you own Elder Scrolls Online, you have to pay $60 for the expansion.
So the way that they kind of do it is there's Elder Scrolls Online, which is the base, and then if you get ESO Plus, then you'll actually unlock a lot of DLCs, and some of the DLCs are chapters, and then some of the so there's all these different chapters for the end game, and some of those chapters are DLCs and included in ESO Plus, but some of those chapters are expansions, and the expansions cost extra money. And so Necrom is an expansion, and typically what would make it an expansion instead of a DLC is an expansion comes with new skills, like potentially a new profession. It's like a full fleshed out game, whereas a DLC might just be a little bit of a new zone, but not a bunch of new stuff. Like I remember when they came out with Orsinium, which was like the orc area, that was a DLC because it was just like a smaller map and it was just story and that was it. Whereas when they came out with Elsewhere, it was an entirely new chunk of the map. There was, I think that is when the Necromancer as a like way to play or a class came out. They had all new events, all new kinds of things in it. And so when there's enough content for it, that's when they're going to make it an expansion. But it does seem to me, at least, that nowadays all the new chapters come out first as an expansion. And then after like a year or two, they kind of go down to like a DLC status in a way.
But their whole thing from the beginning was you buy the game for $60 and you don't pay a monthly fee, right? There is no monthly fee.
Absolutely. And
yeah.
you really don't need it. Like I said, I only feel that ESO Plus is really justified and worth it if you are getting to the point where you're playing it almost every day just for like the inventory shit alone. But then you are able to play any dungeon you want because most of the dungeons and like the different dungeons that they have, or like if you wanted to view them as like a raid or as a strike, those kind of things, they're like the little like roguelike elements or whatever you're going through and just clearing stuff, fighting a boss, and then that's it. Those are the dungeons, and those ones, they have a lot that are DLCs, and so you would get that in ESO Plus, and then additionally too, you would get Crowns, which is their kind of like cash store for mostly cosmetic stuff. And some of the cosmetics are cool, like the different mounts and the different little pets that you can get and that kind of thing. So I only feel though that ESO Plus is actually worth it if you're playing it every day, because honestly, there's so much fucking content in this game for just the base price that I definitely think that the base game is worth it. And then, like I said, if you're getting really into it and playing it every day for like a few weeks, then ESO Plus will just refire something new in you and like play a whole bunch, because then it just unlocks all this end game kind of content.
I can't come up with
you
the
also
Plunder Pass.
get with ESO Plus, it looks like you also get bonus gold, increased experience, faster crafting progression.
Yeah, you get quite a chunk of things, honestly. I feel like it is a really good bang for your buck if you're into the game, because it's, you do get a lot of extra things with XP.
Oh shit, they got Bobby.
No, I don't think I I was surprised to see that I actually own this game. I didn't know
Yeah,
that
dude,
I did.
we jumped into this.
I remember
when
playing it,
first
but I
came- yeah.
don't. I think it was like in beta or something. Like I remember playing it when it
Oh,
first came out.
I think
Well,
you're
I
right.
remember.
it is 9 years old, so like it's been out for a very long time. Because
Mhm.
I always kind of this is the one game to me that like I'll leave for like a year or two and then come back and be really into. So I think I'm just in that phase right now of VSO, and so it ends up happening. But it's been out for 9 years, so it's a very good chance that yeah, like you had it when it first came out.
And remember,
Mhm.
Bobby, you can play for free. You don't have to. You don't have to get the. I want to call
You
it.
still,
I want
you still have
let's
to
go
buy the
with something
DLC though,
generic.
right?
Elder Scrolls After Dark. You don't have to get. You don't have to pay for that. You can just because you own the game, you can play the game. And man, Days makes me want to play this so bad.
Every time she
There's a
talks about it, I'm like, do I have the time? Could I find
Yeah.
the time? What do I have to cut from my life to have the time?
Well, what's cool, like I
Cats.
said, is this kind of a game. There's so many ways to play it because, like, I also enjoy popping in and just kind of running through stuff. And like I said, once again, it's kind of like Guild Wars 2 of like exploring. Honestly, just exploring the map and trying to unlock everything is fun, especially if you roll with a group. It's super fun to play PvP. It's fun to do these dungeons. It's fun to just join with a bunch of people who are just people will do these things where like they'll go on like these world boss runs where you have a huge boss that everybody can join in on, and somebody will form a group and they'll say in like chat like anybody want to do a boss run, and then you join with them and there'll be like 20 people and you all just like complete this area of the map running around killing bosses back to back to back. And like when those kind of moments line up and happen, it's awesome, and it's a totally different way to play than like if you were, going into town and learning about all of the stuff going on and doing all the quests, because there's a lot of quests and there's a lot of dialogue. So I don't know, Bobby, but there's a lot of ways to play the game, and you don't have to play it the very dialogue heavy
Mhm.
like
I mean, there's a
single
lot of
player
dialogue
RPG.
in World of Warcraft too, but you can skip all that. I mean, as
And you
long
could
as
do
it's
that
not
here.
like Cyberpunk 2077 level of dialogue, I think I'll be okay.
There's a lot of dialogue in this because there's a lot of different quests, and there's so much content. Like it's literally the whole planet of Nern, of like the Elder Scrolls universe.
Mhm.
And so because you can really go ever since they came out with one Tamriel about a year or two after it launched, it allowed people to go anywhere, because initially when it launched you could only travel within your alliance, and that was fucking shit, and everybody complained about that very much because then you couldn't play with your friends. And so one Tamriel, they changed it, but I think in a way they did it on purpose because once again, following the lore, this is when like cultures were just first starting to meet each other. Like, Bretons didn't know Argonians existed. And so like, yeah, you wouldn't be able to just fast travel to the opposite side of the planet because they didn't develop the technology yet in the very beginning. So I think it kind of like lined up and made sense after a year where they're like, okay, enough fighting in the game has happened that there are people migrating to different parts to where now everybody can go kind of wherever they want to go. And ever
Okay.
since they did that, the quality of life of the game went up drastically, I think.
I think I'm gonna nail it. I got it. Okay, this is where all the races came in. They started mingling, right? Elder Scrolls interracial.
That's
Oh
I
my
don't know.
God.
I don't know, dude.
You're not gonna subscribe to that?
Yeah,
All right.
I don't know. It doesn't really roll off well. I'm not going to say anything else. Actually, I don't know.
They should just call it Elder
All
Scrolls
right.
1.
Who's
'cause
got
it
the
would still
stick,
be
Amanda?
ESO.
You're like
Well-
there's drinking the Kool-Aid, and then you're like submerged 30 feet underwater.
She's making the Kool-Aid, dog.
Yeah.
She's choosing the flavor, and she's choosing fucking deep red.
She's like churning the Kool-Aid, dude. Like it's a fucking
Always.
vat.
It's always going. That's right. That's right.
And that's not a
some-
bad thing either, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, but the thing that's always yeah, I don't know. I'm completely lost with that. I want to hear Emilio about some Dying Light too, because that's actually one game that I haven't been playing as much as I've wanted to.
But I think you've been playing more than I have. Yeah, definitely. John and I had a little bit of time last night, and I've been wanting. I'm like, this is like a great game that's just been sitting there, and I've been abused. I haven't been feeding it, haven't been taking care of it. It's a shriveled thing in the corner of the room, and so I was like, let me give it some attention, and I'm glad I did. Like, the multiplayer on this is so well implemented. It feels like you're playing a single player campaign with your buddy at the exact same time. It's just really well integrated. I think so. Like if somebody's lagging behind, you can teleport that person to you anytime. It's like a I don't know, like a grappling hook. You're just like, dude, are you stuck or whatever? Like, I got to get this story done with, and or if you start a story part, you'll just teleport right there, and you're part of the conversation. And like, it doesn't care where you are, in the game world. um it just sucks you up because it knows that like you're not supposed to miss this the little part of dialogue or whatever it is. It
There's
could be
been so
jarring,
many
but
times where I love that though. Like that has actually saved me.
no,
That
I like it. Yeah,
genuinely saved me. I've been like drowning with a shitload of zombies on top of me and I'm like about to die. And then like the buddy that I was playing with was just like, no, hold on, just hold on a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Like I got you. And then boom, I get instantly teleported to where he's at. And I'm like, thank God. I was
yeah.
dying.
And you know, we were talking days, I think me and you talking about like playing single player, playing multiplayer games, like single player games. Like a lot of times I don't like to be bothered. I want to get through the content, not just the game, right? You know, you want to hear everything and you get
Yeah.
rushed through things. And this just did such a good job of doing that. I do feel like I'm playing single player, but my buddy's right there. That's exactly how it feels. So
I
it's
agree with
very
that.
well done.
Yeah.
Besides that, the controls, they definitely do their own thing. Like they don't follow anybody's tried and true. Like it's, you know, they did their own way. It works, I guess. But when you left this game for a long months, or if not a year, and then came back, you're like, how the fuck do I throw a knife? Like it's weird. It's weird at first, but
It's
you know,
not
we're getting there.
intuitive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not intuitive only because they didn't copy everybody else. Yeah, having a good time. Recommend it. It's on sale right now. So yeah, it's good.
I also
So
recommend it. It's good.
that's Dying Light 2. And that is highlights, I believe.
Almost, everyone. It's time. Over the weekend, I went to Calgary Expo, which is like a comic and video game artists, you know, just nerd thing in Calgary. And it was weird. For the first time, I saw like a clip. Hayden Christensen was there, and he gave a talk. And I saw the clips on social media, and I was like, oh, that happened. Like cool. Like in Calgary, like you don't really expect that. Calgary isn't really like a cultural hub for anything. Anyways, I got a 6 Star Wars tattoo, and Star Wars Jedi Survivor came out, and you know, in honor of it being a game that's a little too pricey for me, I thought we'd go back in time as a group, reminisce about our favorite Star Wars game. So, I guess Bobby, if you'd like to start us off with your favorite, this
Oh
is
my
maybe a
God.
known thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what my favorite Star Wars game is. I talk about it all the time. Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight. Absolutely love that game. I think it was the first Star Wars game, at least first person shooter Star Wars game with a lightsaber. I'm trying to remember if the original Dark Forces one had one. They must have. But the lightsaber was just, I don't know. The lightsaber battles were absolutely great in that. Like every so often you would have a boss fight with with one of these dark Jedi, and those were always super fun. Plus, it was a first person shooter. It's just so many great things about that game. You've heard me talk about it way too many times, but I'll mention another one. I'll give a shout out to Rebellion, which is a game that nobody remembers. Star Wars Rebellion was this grand strategy game that came out, I think, like 97 or 98, and I remember seeing the cover of it at the store, and it was just this. I think it was that undershot of the Death Star, you know, from A New Hope, or not the Death Star, but from a Star Destroyer, where you see that giant Star Destroyer just pass over the Carillion Corvette. And I remember just immediately being drawn to it. It was a great game, but these games take forever. They're like super long, but you know, if you play single player, you just pick it up as you go along. It was a great, unique strategy game, and you can get it for free now. It's on. There's a website that lets you download games. It hosts games that have, for some licensing reason or another, they're completely free now. I can't remember what that website is called. Got it.
You
All right, I'll
mentioned
think
it
of
like
it.
3 weeks ago too. I forget what it.
Yeah, I feel like it comes up every now and then. But you can find this game for free now, and it's super good. And what I thought was so cool about it was it actually has characters from the books. It's got General Thrawn, a few others that I can't remember, but it's got characters from the extended Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And this was like back in the 90s when the extended Star Wars universe was a little different than it is now. There wasn't as much of it, but you didn't really see them too much. Like you
Cool.
never really saw Thrawn in a video game. But yeah, it's fantastic.
They had some of the extended universe units too. Like I think they had Dark Trooper, if I remember right, is like a high character for the Empire, which is just in the books at that point. I don't think they exist in any game before that. So that's kind of cool. Star Wars Rebellion is the game that I whooped Bobby's ass in, and he still won't rematch me. He just won't do it. I bring it up by monthly, and I'm like, hey,
well,
man.
it is a long game, but yeah. So let's clarify here. I was playing the bad guys, and so the bad guys, the way you lose is if they take over Coruscant.
Obviously, you can't let the jewel fall.
Yeah. So I had forgotten that little detail. So if you're playing, so you could have like a massive fleet somewhere else, but if you leave Coruscant unprotected, they could come in and just win the game instantly. The rebels, they can move their base wherever, and you have to actually discover that and then destroy it. So, even if you discover
the excuses, who won?
Well, obviously Christian won. Bobby took Emperor Palpatine off Coruscant, Darth Vader, his whole garrison. I was like, free meat? I don't know if he just wanted the game to be over though. Maybe I won by Bobby's design,
That does sound like a disadvantage. Does the Empire get an advantage?
Yeah, the Empire has much stronger
guns
fleets and ground forces.
Well, they start off stronger. Yeah, you start off with an advantage.
Yeah.
So you have to like build up and spread out, but as the game goes on, it kind of evens out. I'm pretty sure that website is Abandoned Games. Yeah, My Abandonware. That was the website.
Sweet. Okay. Emilio, what's your favorite Star Wars game?
Honorable mention to Super Star Wars Empire Strikes Back on Super Nintendo, I believe. When this is before I had a Super Nintendo. This is the first time I can remember making the connection from something really impressive, like a movie that I loved, and then seeing the characters represented well enough that I was like, hey, those are fucking walkers, those are AT-ATs, and those are the little spinners, those are the little things that fly around. I don't know what they're called.
Imperial probe droids.
No, the ones that wrap their legs up, those speeder type things.
Oh, snow speeders?
Snow speeders, yeah. Nice. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And, you get a lightsaber and all this stuff. And just the level of how impressed I was by that. And not just first time that happened with Star Wars. That was the first time that happened with any game that I was just like, Sure. I had played The Lion King on Super Nintendo, and I was just, but it was, I don't know, it wasn't cool. This was fucking cool, you know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, but this is not my favorite. My favorite is actually Jedi Fallen Order. I think that's it's funny because, like, I don't know, before I played that game, Days and I had a conversation on here about how a lot of games front load their better content up front because people aren't finishing games, and for a lot of reasons, production costs, you get towards the end, crunch time, all that stuff, the game starts to suffer towards the end. This game just keeps getting better and better and better all the way through up until the very end, where there's a awesome cameo that's a little bit more than a cameo. Like, it just all the way through solid. It's my first Souls light. I mean, it's very light on the Souls light, but it made me like a Souls light game, which nothing else has been able to do that, except for a little bit of Elden Ring. Incredible game. I love it. I've talked about it when I played it, when background characters that you think are just background characters, and you go and talk to them, and they actually have a believable rapport with you. Like, you're like, not just like the rebellion or die. No, it's not that. It's like, it fucking sucks, man. Like, I haven't eaten. It's rough out here. And we're like, yeah, sorry, man. I'm gonna go kill some stuff laser sword. Yeah, it's really good.
Sweet. I definitely need to beat this game.
Yeah, Fallen Order is great.
Yeah.
Is it on Game Pass too?
I don't know.
Yes,
No,
through the
is it?
EA thing though. So
Yeah,
I
the
just
EA
remember it
Connect
was on
thing.
Origin back
Yeah.
in the day.
yeah, EA Origin is on Game Pass, and you have to like log into both simultaneously, and there's some weirdness in there. I just tried it like last week, trying to get the F1 game to work, and I couldn't get it to work. So
Okay.
Mm.
take it for what it's worth.
It's I didn't like the interface. It's like running 3 different background
Yeah.
programs just to play a game, and you're like, oh, I have to launch this, and I have to launch this, and I have to launch the game. It's like, all right, that's kind of weird
Yeah.
because you have to have Game Pass open while it's running.
And whatever EA's thing is called, that has to be running, and then the game's got to be running.
That's sus as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick, what's your favorite Star Wars game?
My favorite Star Wars game is Knights of the Old Republic 1. It is one of the when I was a child, actually when I was a young adult, I guess, or just 13. It was the game that I stopped playing like shooters and all kinds of like ADHD like helping games. And it was a game that really slowed things down, and I took appreciation for like the story and like the combat style and the RPG elements. It really kind of changed my outlooks on video games as a whole. I think the closest thing I ever played with like to that would be like Champions of Norath, but then again, that was it wasn't a turn-based, action game. It is so good that I even replayed it on an iPad when I was in language school. So, during between classes, I can't wait for the remake or reimagining, whatever they're calling it, because I believe they did confirm that. Hopefully they do that old fashioned like, hey, it's available in 2 weeks kind of thing, because I don't want a long drawn out campaign for the game. Everyone's gonna buy it anyways. It's fucking Star Wars.
Give it to us. Just send it over.
Just be like, dude, hey, it's coming out. When's it coming out? Next Tuesday. All right.
All right, I'll buy it. Goodbye, life.
What was I gonna say? Oh, I just recently saw a like top 10 list of most expensive games ever made, and it had like the costs and whatever, and this is still on there. This is like number 6 still.
Oh wow.
Like a lot of what he's talking about was it was a very expensive game to make at the time. It sounds like they made one of the best Star Wars games of all time though, and one of the best video games of all time. I've never played it,
Dude, it's
And
like
I tried-
$25 on the Apple Store, by the way.
I tried to go back and play it, dude, and it was just like it didn't work and stuff. It was all clunky. So
It is my
I think you should try the
laptop
GOG version, by the way. I think that's the one that actually comes with a bunch of like fan made fixes and stuff.
optimizations. Yeah.
I find that whatever like old ass game that you're playing that doesn't really have support on Steam,
yeah,
GOG
does it
usually
better.
has them fixed and stuff like that.
Comes out of the box. Yeah.
I forget. So is part 1 or part 2 the like mega super game that everybody loves?
Say that one more time.
But there's a part 2 of this, right?
Yes, there's
the-
a part 2.
And
There's
which
the-
one of
yeah.
those is more beloved?
The part 1.
Okay.
Well, part
I-
2 they
I-
never really finished, right? Like that got a
got-
little weird at the end.
Yeah, the game was kind of broken towards the end, if I recall correctly, and also it kind of had an open ending.
Hmm.
Are you taking
Yeah,
a
they
shot
tried to
of orange
restore
juice?
some of the content, but I remember trying to play it. It like there was this whole planet that got cut out of the game, and then people tried to put it back in, but it didn't really work quite right. Kind of messed up my save. I'm surprised nobody mentioned what was that one on the N64 with Dash Rendar?
We're not done
Sha-
yet. Dude.
Shadow of
We're
the
not done
Empire.
yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we still got days,
Way
right?
to spoil
Yep.
Amanda's
And-
game.
and
Bobby.
Christian, I
Jesus
think.
Christ. Holy shit.
Thanks. No, I was gonna say, ironically, talking about the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, number 2 was actually like my favorite for a stint, for a little bit, but nothing takes my heart like the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer on Nintendo 64. I loved having my own speeder and racing people, and like I would even race my siblings just to beat them. We'd even like, well, I'd play and then I'd make them play, and we'd look at our times and compare, and then. So like I loved this game. This game was so much fun to play. I played a lot of this. I had to be number 1 with every single map. But otherwise, the other game that like definitely sucked my soul in was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords. I made like a good person with a green lightsaber, and I went with all the good, nice person responses and saw the storyline of that. And then I made a Sith character and just tried to fucking kill everybody. And it was great. I loved this game. This game and Star Wars Galaxies, like, yeah, I loved them both. They were so good.
Okay.
Now, I remember a Star Wars racer that was like chibi, like pod racing, or like, you know.
Oh, I
big
know what you're
heads and
talking
stuff.
about. Yeah. It was
I
like
think
a
it
big-headed
was-
one. Yeah.
I don't remember if it was very good. It was trying to do a Mario Kart thing with a pod racing. thing.
Wasn't it like a handheld game?
No, I definitely played it on console, but that's as far as my memory banks will let me go. But yeah, it definitely wasn't Mario Kart. It just tried to be, and it was fun. You know, we had a good time with it.
Yeah.
Star Wars
And
Racer
Christian-
was a childhood favorite of mine. Everything that happened in that game in my mind is canon. Like all the races I had with my brother. That should all be included.
It was great.
Quadranero, you know.
Did you
he's a
who'd you play as, Zabulba?
No, dude. Why play a Sebulba when you have Quadranero? 4 engines, dude. 4 engines.
4 engines. You hear that, everybody? More is better.
More is better.
More is better.
Okay.
A funny thing about episode 1 is like when, especially around the racing times, you hear all these languages, and so much of it is Spanish. It's just Spanish and like
Oh,
funny
really?
voices.
Sped up,
Did
or-
Do you
they
know?
catch
You want to
that?
know the Nicholas Star Wars fact of the day?
Yeah?
Sure.
So when Darth Vader was first seen, and if you were on a big enough screen in person, you can see that he had symbols on his chest, and it's just Hebrew letters that are turned sideways and upside down. That's it.
What do they
It's
say?
nothing special.
Sometimes you got to go for those easy wins. And then they made a whole language out of that. Orubrush, the Star Wars alphabet. Anyways.
Hold up. Star Wars Racer is on Nintendo Switch.
God damn.
We all about to get on the switches and race. You know what I'm saying?
It was my favorite game. You know what
Oh.
I'm saying?
If they haven't updated it, it could be a bit rough. Okay. Star Wars, my favorite Star Wars game. There's so many. I can't, like, I've played Star Wars
There's
games
a
since I
lot.
came out of the womb, dude. Like, I can't think of a bad Star Wars game that I've played. Maybe the Lego ones for me didn't really take for whatever reason, but Star Wars Obi-Wan I wanted to mention because I probably, like, me and my friend Josh would stay up to like 3 a.m. battling each other in the arena in this game. And also, I talked around, and this only came out for Xbox, so not a lot of people have even heard of this game. Have you guys seen Star Wars Obi-Wan before?
Nope.
I
have,
do. I remember
actually.
fucking running this game and not being able to fucking do anything after the first 2 hours because the game I rented was all scratched.
Oh fuck!
It was all
Yeah,
it was all
yeah.
fucking scratched, and I had to return it. And at Best Buy, I mean not Best Buy, fucking Blockbuster was like, "Fuck you, it's not scratched enough to give you
Wow.
your money back."
Bobby?
Yeah, I remember renting this game.
Well, the only reason I know of this game is because I've looked like what are the most popular Star Wars games, and this one's always near the top. Like it's pretty far up there. Now it was on Xbox, so I completely missed this one, but I do kind of feel sad that I can't play this. Maybe there's some Xbox emulator out there where I can check it out.
It might be worth it. Like, it's the first Star Wars game, and I think this is true, but if it's not, you know, forgive me because I'm talking on the spot, but that had a lightsaber physics. Like, if you had your lightsaber and it went across the wall, you know, it would make a hole in the wall.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
when you were fighting other people that had lightsaber resistant material or lightsabers, your character hit where they were on their character, and it just felt so awesome, you know. The games I played before, it was kind of janky where you slice your sword and then randomly something happens and nothing could really be blocked. And yeah, this one has a special place in my heart. Also, the first time I learned that in the Star Wars universe there are lightsaber resistant materials, which I can't remember right now, but now they're using that.
Beskar.
No, it wasn't Beskar in this game. This is before Beskar. This was something that starts with a K, because one of the missions you have to blow up the lightsaber resistant factory. You know, the Jedis are being terrorists, basically.
It's Kevlar. Just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. And Star Wars Obi-Wan. Okay, that's it. Thanks for your favorite Star Wars games, everyone.
I found it. It's called Super Bombad Racing. Was the Mario Kart Star Wars game.
Dude, that should be
Thank
the
you for that.
ESO. That should be the ESO subscription.
Super.
All right.
Question for Nick. This has been sitting here. Oh, we're going into
Hold
this.
on,
Question-
hold
oh,
on. Wait a
Oh,
minute,
talking
turn it
about-
back now. That was our highlights. Those were the games that we did play. And now we're going to be talking about questions. You can submit questions on our Discord under the listener questions section. But we do have a plug from Days before we go ahead and get started with this.
That's right. That's right. We're talking about DLG Con, the fifth year anniversary. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be in San Diego, first weekend of November. And it's going to be a dope ass fucking time. We have searched through lots of VRBOs for luxury, fantastic meetup spots for us to hang out, and have come down to two. And it kind of depends on the size of how many people are going. If we've got a bit of a smaller group, then we've got a lovely house that seems to be close to Pacific Beach, and it's on the beach. And so that would be really fantastic and really cool. It has a pot tub and everything. And so that's really fun and nice. Has a whole nice little like backyard hangout spot for everybody, but all the houses seem to be detached and a lot of them are private. So that's a cool option. The other one is the one
Oh
that
wait, there's more.
yeah, the other one is fucking awesome. It's like on top of
fucking
it's
yeah. So
they call
excited.
it a rock star villa, and it's an entire villa. It's enormous. There's tennis courts on it, there's a huge pool, there's an entire slide, and there's torches that you can like kind of jump through to jump into the water. It's 8 feet deep, the pool is, and heated, and there's a big hot tub, and there's a swim up bar and an entire like movie room and a whole game room in the basement. And did I mention tennis courts and putt golf? And so we can do golf it but in real life together. This place is nuts. So if we get enough people, we could be balling out, especially for a 5-year anniversary of DLG
How many
Con.
people do we need? What are we looking
We
at?
need at least like 16. I'm gonna say 17 to make it really
16?
fantastic.
We can
people.
get 16. We can get it. Come on.
I think so too.
I
But
think we're gonna do it actually.
I think it's gonna be it's gonna be really epic and really awesome. And so if you're interested in that, we have a DLG Con planning channel in the Discord. And so keep an eye out on that. I'm thinking what we're going to be doing is we're going to be collecting $100 deposits from people, and you can select then what room and stuff that you want. And then based on the amount of people that send in deposits and claim a room will definitely tell us whether we're going big or whether we're going something really nice on the beach, because the other option's nice too. The smaller one's nice. But if we can get 16 people, dude, holy shit, we were about to be balling like like a bunch of wild fun gamers doing a bunch of wild fun shit.
Wow.
Like a bunch of fucking 40-year-olds with
Yeah.
some
Oh,
booze.
I was thinking if-
Gamers gone wild. That's what it
Gamers
is.
gone wild. That's
Wow.
right. Yep.
DLG
So
interracial.
we're no, dude, stop. This fucking it's a go time, right? Like, what is the timeline for people to kind of get their interest in, send their $100 your way? Like, what are we looking at?
I think we should look at the month of May. Like, shut it down in June.
I think I do want to point something out right now. As someone who just looked this up like 10 seconds ago, you cannot book most flights out with most airlines for that week yet. So we might want to do May. We might want to do early June. But once it hits the second week of May, you can book throughout November.
Perfect.
Because
Yeah.
flight prices are definitely a big reason. I should be going, and I say should very harshly, because if I go, that means Leslie's going, and if Leslie's going, that means Vivian's going, and because we'll be so close to Emilio's house, we can just be like, "Hey, here's Vivian," and then my parents will show up and then help out.
Yeah. Nick, as somebody who just went for the first time this last time, sell me on. Well, did you like it? Did you have a good night?
I had the time of my life.
He says in the most unenthusiastic way,
I
dude.
was
Like,
like,
I had the time.
it was the best time of my life.
No, in all actuality, it was really fun. I don't think I've had more fun in 2 days because I only went. I was there for a shorter period of time. I got there a day after everything started. At the time, I was watching my money, dealing with being unemployed, and not receiving like VA payments, and then so it was like a pretty big deal for me to go to it. We had to make a lot of sacrifices. I had to sell a lot of Magic cards and D&D models and a bunch of other shit just to be able to go, to include my car. But eventually, I showed up, and it was interesting, meeting the fans and things like that, because you talk to these people online all the time, whether it be through text or online through through Discord, and to put a face or like just a body to the voice is nice to do to everybody. But then again, you have Emilio there who's turning everything to a fucking 11, And then you have Sniper, who's in the background, like, "Hey man, everything's fine. Just chill, bro. Have a beer, relax, take a nap." And then you got Bobby, who's like, "Let's play some goddamn board games and do something before I go fucking crazy." But in all actuality, that was when we were in Texas. This is going to be San Diego, so there's going to be probably more dining out or more group activities, or just bigger events and things like that at the house itself.
Yeah, if we get that second house, I mean, there's no reason to go anywhere other than food. But I
Exactly.
see. Yeah.
And
Have you looked
San
at
Diego's,
it, Nick?
huh?
Have you looked at that house?
Not yet, to be
You
honest.
Go look
should.
at it and then get back to me, dude.
Yeah,
I'll
you
take a look
should.
at it.
I'm gonna post the houses in the DLG Con planning channel right after the cast, so that way then everybody can look at the two options as well. We had them posted in the crew, but we're gonna move them over to DLG Con planning so all of you could see exactly what we're talking about. Both places are awesome. I mean, like, I don't know. I've gone every year. Christian, I think, has gone every year. Obviously, Bobby and Emilio have gone every year. It's still to this day like always the funnest weekends and the funnest shit that I do. Like, it's awesome. I
And
love DLG Con.
The first time I went over for the first year, I had just started like listening to the podcast, and I was worried, like, who are these people? Like, these are all people from online. Like, is there anyone gonna be stopping people from being, like, you know, if they get violent or if they're just being rude and creepy? And there's just, like, we all agree there's no tolerance for any of that. Like,
Agreed.
wow.
Well, yeah.
just big pog.
I didn't know you were asking, dude. I
Oh,
thought
yeah,
you were
The way
just
you
making a
phrased it was like-
statement.
Yeah. No, but like we're putting this thing on, and like,
Yeah,
if
we
you're,
got a no creep policy.
yeah,
I will
if
pick-
you're on
I
the
will
And it's
pick
never
up-
really been a problem either, too. It's not like
No, yeah. If something inappropriate is happening, you know, obviously we address it as soon as possible. But I don't think we've ever really had any kind of situation like that. I mean, if certain people show up, you might be grinding rocks for fun. But there's all kinds of people that go to DLG Con. If you want to bring a buddy, like you're like, hey, maybe I don't know if I want to go, but if you want to bring a friend that's never even watched us or anything like that, go ahead and do that as well. How many people can we accommodate, Amanda?
Well, with the first house, I think it's like about 10. With the second house, it sleeps 20.
So yeah, besides the casters and the crew, which is like 6 people and maybe their loved ones, maybe like 9 or 10. It's 20 slots, man. Just hit us
And
up earlier. The earlier, the better for questions and anything like that. And we can answer them as promptly as we can.
I do believe I was built like an ogre for a reason. If there is a creep, I can throw them pretty far outside of the house.
And
But
if you're
yeah,
the creep, at least you land in the sand in San Diego. So
yeah, if you've never been on to even to our Discord and any of this sounds cool to you, Discord is dlgaming.net, and there you have a bunch of links. And you can click the one that says Discord. That'll get you the Discord, bunch of cool stuff going on in there. And then from there, you can go to DLG Planning and take part.
Absolutely. It's going to be
Every
awesome.
year we have 4 first comers, first time people.
yeah,
Every year. Probably
And,
And then they
5%.
usually come again afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
Usually we'll revisit.
we were
Sure.
kind of short on spots last time, right? There were some people that wanted to go and they couldn't go because we were full.
No, we filled up perfectly last year, I think.
Okay.
So that was good.
Who wants to read the listener questions today?
I guess I'll do it.
Heck yeah.
All right. So we've got some listener questions here. The first one is one we've been holding on to for a while because it is directed at Nick. This is from Warconius. Is Ragnarok a good game, but too much of the same? So polished that it's not very interesting? I'm enjoying it, but it feels like deja vu.
To be honest, I'm not done. I think I have 2 hours left on it. From what I've been playing, it's an amazing game. I think it's a great game.
And we're talking
think-
about God of War Ragnarok.
Yes,
Correct.
God of War Ragnarok, for those who
Okay.
don't know. I believe it is a bridge game. If not, then I'm speaking out of my ass on this one. Because it is the second one in the God of War series is trying to make more games and more universes from what they led from the first new God of War game. I don't think it's too much of the same. I think the weapon differences and the new kind of ally system kind of gives more leeway on how to play and things like that. I think really what it is that if you just want to do the main quest, you can do that. If you really want to do the side quest, it does kind of get repetitive. Go here, kill this thing, do this puzzle, come back. Um, the side quests do really elaborate and enhance the world. Are they mandatory? No. Can you beat the game without doing them? Yeah. Are they fun? Most of the time. Would I say it's better than the first one? That's hard. I would probably give the first one a 9.7, and I'd probably give this one like a 9.4. It's definitely worth your time if you've never picked it up. If you're playing it on PC, use a remote. But it does kind of feel like the characters' relationship in the second game have already been established, and it's strongly suggested to play the first one. The way that the relationship and the what the story is based off of compared to the first one is similar, but still pretty different because of all the outside influences. So I would say, for yes or no, is Ragnarok a good game, but too much of the same? No, I think it's a great game, and it's not too much of the same. Is it so polished that it's not very interesting? No, I think it's still a very interesting game, especially if you have a thing for the Nordic pantheon. And he said, "I'm enjoying it, but it feels like deja vu." Well, isn't that a good thing if the first game was good? Those are my responses.
Take that, Cornelius.
Jesus.
Miss you, buddy.
All right. Next question from A Tom. What feature would you want to be on every game moving forward? I would want a search bar in settings so I could narrow down where that specific setting is.
I would take that. There's no reason.
That's a good one.
I feel like there's a lot of improvements that could be made to the settings in PC games. One thing that I've always been an advocate for, this was in Gears of War Tactics and maybe in a few other games, but this is the only one I remember. In the settings, they show you what a lot of times they have just like a scroll bar, like you can go low, medium, high, and you have to click through them. But then games started getting kind of cute with it. They have low, medium, high, ultra, mega ultra, super ultra. So you don't really know what the top setting is. Usually you just click all the way to the right till you get to the end of it. And hopefully it doesn't click you back to low if you go from the highest setting. So what I always enjoyed is in the settings, if they actually show you what the different settings are. Like here's low, medium, high, and ultra. And then you can just click on ultra. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to like explain something that's very visual.
It's the quick selection for settings, right?
Yeah. It doesn't really matter too much to me anymore because I got to be honest, I'm actually leaning pretty heavy on what do they call it in GeForce now? Is it GeForce or GE? It's GeForce, but the optimize option. So you load up the software. If you got an NVIDIA card, you load up the software. It recognizes the games you have installed. You hit optimize, and it picks the best settings based on the graphics card you have and the monitor you have. It does all that stuff for you. And I mean, I don't know. I guess you can adjust it there if you want, but for the most part, I just trust that now. So I just optimize all my games, and I assume that I'm getting the best experience.
Bobby, I'm not. I've had I use that as well, but I've had some issues. It doesn't see all my games, not even close. It sees like 25% of my games. Do you?
20 really?
You have to. So you have to set up the directories manually. By the way, especially if you have multiple hard drives. I had the same issue, but as soon as I actually took like 15 minutes to set up everything, it finds every game every time now.
Okay. I only have one hard drive, but yeah.
Yeah, I've never had a problem. It finds all my games automatically. I've never had an issue. That's strange.
What I would do, Emilio, is find the source install folders for each like Steam and like Game Pass and all that stuff, and then setting up every single one as its own branch to discover, and it'll do it.
Okay.
It's what's nice about that system, just to add on to what Bobby said, is that you can choose your native resolution that you want. So if you always just want to play in 1080p, you can do that, and then it'll even adjust the settings for that resolution for every game. So it is a really nice feature that comes with the NVIDIA cards.
Yeah, you know what? I take it back. It's not seeing all my games installed through GOG. So yeah, it is missing some, but it sees everything from Steam, everything from Blizzard, from Battle.net.
That is a weird thing too, because it sees some Steam games but not others. Like it doesn't see Returnal. Why would it not see
That
return
is,
all like
yeah,
that?
that is weird. You may
Yeah.
you may need to add it manually, which is a pain in the butt.
What a quandary.
All right. Any other
Yeah.
answers to this question?
Well, yeah.
Something-
So, a feature that I would want to be on every game moving forward is motion blur disabled automatically instead of it being the opposite. Because I feel like almost every game I play, motion blur is on. Fuck that. I want it off. So,
yeah.
That's what's up. I respect that.
I'm
yeah.
gonna win this.
I always
This is
turn
not a
that
game.
off too. And they always put it on by default. And a lot of times they give you an option like a little motion blur, a lot of motion blur, or turn it off. And I always turn it off. I mean, especially if you're playing a PvP game, it gives you a competitive advantage. And I feel like I don't know if the motion blur like saves you frames or something, but I don't know why they always have it on. Maybe they just want a more cinematic experience. And I think
don't
that's
know, I
going to
hate
add to it.
I thought
I wish
motion
it was
blur actually
automatically
reduces
off.
your frames
Yeah.
because it's
I
adding
would
a
assume
blur
it
effect
does.
to every texture.
I'm gonna win this game. It's not a game, but I can't see how you guys wouldn't agree with this. Show me all the companies involved in making it the first time I boot this thing up, and then never show me them again.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why?
But
Why
you
do
can
I have
you can
to-
do that in Steam though. even
Yeah,
without any
well, yeah,
mods.
but that's bullshit, dude. To have to go
Yeah.
in and like add a launch or
Yeah,
a,
that's
a
true.
switch to the launch command or whatever. Yeah, dude, that's stupid. And some of these games, Bethesda, they really just like, oh my god, dude, it's like 5 of them.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's because they have like a sound team and like a sound company, like all this other shit. I think
I
for
get
me,
it. They're really proud of what they made, and they want to put their name on it. But like,
Some of
if
them
you
are
have a-
unskippable too. There's
dude,
one
yeah.
game. God, I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was one of the Doom games, the newer ones, but one of the games they were unskippable, and I was like, unacceptable.
Unacceptable, sir.
I'm
Uh,
on the same vein as Emilio. When you launch a game and you can't change the sound of that launching game and it blows your eardrums out, usually when the logos come down, they're like, "Bah, bah, bah, bah," and I'm like, holy fuck, like
Yeah.
there goes all my hearing, thank you. And then also the menu music is always really loud.
dude,
Well,
that's what
the
happens to me.
game
with
volume is
Ark.
always way too loud when you first start it up. You know what I've gotten the habit of doing, and this is partially because Windows is getting worse and worse at the way they deal with audio. Like I hate. That's one thing I don't like about Windows 11 is the controls for for audio devices and like mixing levels and stuff like that. But if you hit Windows G, it brings up that Xbox overlay, that game bar. And one of the options that you can have in there is just like a mixer. You can adjust the volume of all your different things. And that is the quickest way to get to that in Windows. So I use that all the time now. Anytime I'm in a game, Windows G, I'm in Discord, I can't hear this person talking, Windows G, just it's actually really convenient.
Windows G, Bobby's new
Cool.
boyfriend.
Windows G.
I don't know. Sorry.
All right. All right. Any more responses to that? Did we get everyone?
You guys pretty good. I mean, Emilio got mine. I was gonna say no intro scenes or just what is called quick to start, like on PlayStation, where you boot up the PlayStation and then boom, you're just immediately in the game right where you left off.
Oh, dude, they did it for the Steam Deck. Why
Yeah.
not do it for the Steam client? That would be amazing, dude. Like fucking what do they call it? I forget what they call it, but it's like drop in, drop out. Like exactly what you just said. Wherever you
Mhm.
left off, you're right there, without anything else going on.
Yeah. All right. Burn Division asks, do you think you'll actually be playing games until you die?
Yes.
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 Next question.
Yes.
I don't think it's that simple though, because I don't know. I've thought about this, and yeah, I do. Like I love playing video games, and especially when I'm older and have the time. Of course, I'm going to be playing. But I remember spending a lot of time with my grandfather before he passed. He lived to be 97, ripe old age. But during the last, God, I don't know, maybe 5 years, he really had problems with the motor skills, and I'd come over and like I'd show him how to do stuff on his laptop. He was really fascinated with technology. He was just his entire life he was always into technology. So, I'd come over and like I'd show him like stuff on a laptop, but it got to the point where like he had a lot of trouble with a mouse. So I think, and then I got another friend he's in his 70s and he's got like, I don't know, something where he's got like a bit of a shake in the hand. But there's going to be a point where like physically you're not able to to play games, and like I really hope that is far off for me. Like I don't.
But
That's going to be rough.
would you be open to the idea to like cerebral controlled games?
Oh
Because I
my
think that's where eventually where we're going. Like where
Yeah.
VR will become like.
Yeah,
think
I mean,
so.
sure, whatever, dude. But I mean, it's like that's
I
not
mean,
a reality.
like,
I
another,
30
what,
years,
50
dude,
years?
that's 100% going to be there.
Yeah,
100%.
where you plug control games with your
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
I think so.
Let's hope.
But anyway, yeah, absolutely. Not only do I think I'm going to be, but I'm going to ramp up. It's only going to ramp up from here, dude. I can't get any busier. I can only get less busy.
You can only get less busy.
So I am at the valley of a very deep valley. At least that's why I keep buying all these games that I'm never gonna play, because I'm
Eventually,
hoping one day. I honestly think there's a little bit of there's probably a German or French word for this, but there's like it makes you it gives you a sense of wishing, or it's gonna happen if I buy this game, knowing that I don't have the time to play it. It's gonna make me happy just knowing that later on I'm gonna have time to do it. You know what I
And
mean?
whatever makes you happy
go.
makes me happy. You know, like
Manifest that
Me
shit.
too, man.
There you go.
yeah.
Except for when you fucking what do you call it? You name drop or you you kind of like flex your national money exchanging service that you guys have in Canada.
Dude,
I was like, do you have Venmo or Cash App? He's like, all of that is free through a Canadian national thing.
e-transfer,
And e-transfer. He's like, why would I? No, I don't even
Look
know.
at this
what
peasant.
He's like, you stupid American.
It's peasant fucking bullshit. Do you have a Venmo? Do you have a quick money, whatever? I can't even
You have a
name them.
third-party app to your
I-
third-party app.
I did that today for my tattoo. He was like, can you Venmo? He's from America. He's like, can you Venmo me? I was like, oh, we don't have, I like went right into it. Like I have the spiel memorized. I'm
You're like, first of all, how fucking dare you think that I have that on my phone? Second of all, I can download it. I'm sorry.
yeah, exactly.
Well, in 30 years,
I'm
dude, we're
sorry.
just going to be able to do this telepathically, right? We'll just like look at somebody with like a,
I think
Spend
someone
money
heard
with your
Bobby.
brain.
Someone heard Bobby earlier in a listener question.
Yeah.
no, man. I'm not a futurist, man. Like everybody's always like, well, you know, we're always going to have like this and that in the future. I'm like, will we, dude? Because it's 2023 and I feel like shit's like not really that cool. You know, where's the flying cars? Where like all
You want
these
to know
like,
where the flying cars are?
I don't really
You can't
care about
trust the
flying.
fucking general public with a goddamn flying car.
Can't even trust
That's
the general
why.
public with a normal car. Anyways, we don't want to unearth my passion.
Upset the old man.
Yep.
All right, next.
All
one.
right. Few questions from Hingle McCringleberry here. For those who played Oblivion and Skyrim, did you prefer having your jump or run speed abilities increased with acrobatics, or did you prefer the system in Skyrim? Personally, I think there were good things in each system.
Amanda's the only one who can answer this.
Yeah, I think
What are
there's
you
good
talking
things
about? I can
in-
answer this too.
Let Amanda
I think
first.
I think there's very good stuff in both of them. I mean, like I'm kind of obviously biased with the nostalgia of Morrowind and like that it was like the acrobat system, and then running and sprinting was the athletic system. Enjoyed that, but like I didn't really feel like it was too terrible in Skyrim either, and kind of like that too. I don't know. There's pros and cons, but naturally I'm just going to say that because I got so used to it being acrobats and athletics that yeah, that's kind of what I would prefer.
Not 100% sure what you guys are talking. You mean by doing the thing, that's how you got better at it? Like
Mhm.
literally running? Gotcha. Yeah, how about this? How that would have never worked for me, because I didn't know in my whole first playthrough of Skyrim that you could run. I walked through the entire game.
Yeah.
Yep.
The classic. Nick, what's your opinion on it?
I think there needs to be a balance of the two, right? I think if you get to like, let's say 100 agility and you can run 4 times as fast as when you start, that's perfectly fine. But there needs to be a hard cap on like movement and jump speed. What I love about games is when you level up so much that new parts of the game become open, especially in open world games. And my number one example is Fallout 4. There are so many places you can get normally in the game, right? But as soon as you unlock a jetpack for any of the power armor, where you can go and what you can find like triples. Like the amount of like interactable locations, the amount of things you can find. You can begin to go and explore the freeway that's like floating or just like broken apart. And and with that, even in Oblivion, there are areas that are what are considered like harder to get to, or like even shortcuts that you can get because your agility is higher. Like you can jump onto a ledge, which you would normally have to go through a whole building, and like if you're doing one of the sneaking missions, you'd have to sneak by everybody. Or if your acrobatics is high enough, you can do a jump and get to that ledge and just get to where you need to be to that room. So I think there's a healthy balance, but I definitely am on the side of increase the points, faster run, higher jump. So
I don't know.
Cool.
It kind of brings me back to like I'm gonna always go back to Morrowind with this episode apparently today, but you just need a scroll flight, dude. You'll yeet up so high.
Yeah.
It's like acrobatics times 1,000. But no, there was some really good cheat codes there too. We found that if you soul trapped like flight to yourself, like up against a wall, or it was like soul trapping a target, and you'd use a wall and it would bounce back onto yourself, you could make your acrobatics go up to like 3,000 and your speed at 1,000 and then run out of the game, which was great. A great flex. I loved that. So I don't know. I liked both.
We should do that for a listener question next week. Like favorite cheat of all time.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right. Another question from Hingle McCringleberry. What's the consensus on Fig Newtons? Also, what's your favorite local beverage?
I love
Man.
Fig Newtons,
I
but I
love them
think
too.
I think there's a point of diminishing returns. There's a point where you can like once you hit the second sleeve, where you just kind of get disgusted by them, just because I don't
they
know.
just get mushy.
Yeah, I mean they're mushy to start with, but
Oh, this is like a candy or something.
No, it's a cookie that's
Oh.
filled with fig
no,
jelly.
it's a healthy
but the
snack.
Oh,
yeah,
I haven't had a Fig Newton since I was 10,
I
dude.
thought we
I
were
don't.
talking about the units of force. Like, you know.
I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now, you can fix your unit of force of shitting by eating a Fig Newton, because those things got a lot of fucking fiber in them right now.
I mean,
You got an
honestly, it's
upset
probably the
stomach.
best version of figs. Figs are pretty gross, if I remember correctly. I've never really cared for them, but Fig Newtons, yeah, sure, they're all right.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
like
they're pretty. I mean, I'll eat them if
Christian,
they're there,
it's a
but it's not like I
smashed
go.
fig surrounded in like crumpled up graham cracker.
Or
Okay.
Yeah,
rolled
it's like
nuts. It
powder
or not
out.
nuts or oats.
Yeah.
The rolled oats.
Oats.
It
sometimes.
actually is pretty
Rolled
healthy, I
oats.
feel like. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know any local beverages that we have here. I'm not.
Oh, Ballast Point.
Ballast
It's a
Point's good.
brewery that exploded and went national. It was a very good local brewery. We
Mhm.
have a bunch of local.
Yeah, we used to have our
Man,
work
he asked
parties
what's
there.
good, not what's popular. That's the two very different things.
I'll tell you what's a local beverage where I'm from, or not from, now living at, is fucking Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper's from Texas, and that shit is delicious.
Wow.
Actually, have you had a Dr. Pepper shake from Whataburger?
Not yet, but I'm gonna tomorrow now.
You know what? I was more impressed than I thought I would be when I tried it.
I love the concept of milk and Dr. Pepper. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
it's a weird one, but it's definitely one I recommend that people should try once. Get the small, but like try it, you know, because you're gonna be like, oh, that's all right.
My dad now loves Texas. So
Oh.
for those who didn't get it at the beginning of the podcast, I just moved to Texas. We've been here for about 10 days, 3 days after getting here, my parents visit. And my dad's like, this is pretty cool. And then he finds out we have an In-N-Out like 10 minutes from our house. He's like, I like this place a lot. I can probably move here. I'm like, yeah, Dad, you have In-N-Out in other
Dude.
places.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean, we'll talk later, but they moved into the boonies, but they could have, they could have moved in where you guys are. Probably have a lot more for what they got.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess for me, my favorite local beverage in Michigan would probably be I really like this brewery called Perrin. They make like a really, really good grapefruit IPA that is delicious. Otherwise, I mean, but it's popular and it isn't as good anymore. But like Bell's Oberon wheat ale is really delicious. Kind of like a Blue Moon, but nicer,
Sweet.
I guess.
I know we have some Edmonton listeners, which scared me when I first heard that because a little too close to home for me. I don't want to be accosted, because we're so popular and everything else. But favorite beverage is Yellowhead Brewery. Apparently, I like piss beer, like the lightest beer possible, and then put that up like 10 more notches. And Yellowhead Brewery has the most refreshing beer I've ever had. and they only sell it in the big jars. Which name I'm blanking on. What are the big jars called? Is it
Well, the growlers.
the
or
growler?
The growlers?
Yeah,
Growler.
grr. Yeah, I love them.
Christian, I accept your challenge, and when you come down, so we're making plans. Christian, Bobby, and I are all going to this music thing in LA, video game music, and Christian's going to come here, and I'm going to take him to Mexico, and I'm going to introduce you to the michelada.
Oh my
which
God.
is-
Oh, dude,
Oh,
the heartburn
dude.
maker.
No, I love it. I
good.
miss them.
What's
You're-
it makes heartburn? Michelada?
No, you're gonna love it, dude. It's like a Caesar but with beer. Like it's
Oh, cool.
awesome. It's so fucking delicious. You're gonna love it. I love it.
Do you like tomato juice?
Yeah, I love
Do you
love
like-
clam juice.
Do you like?
Even
I
better.
mean, that's a little off the topic, but all right.
No, no,
Uh,
clamato
It's
juice.
in a
Sorry,
Caesar,
clamato
yeah.
juice. Sorry.
But do you like spicy shit in general,
Yeah,
or
I love
like sour
spicy
shit?
stuff. Both
So
of those things.
imagine a light beer, right, mixed with tomato juice. Sometimes has a shot of tequila in it, with a chilied rim with sugar and chili powder, but it's called tahine, which also has lime in it. And then sometimes you get a candied straw that also has more tahine and tamarind on it. And then if you don't have a heartburn, then you're not doing it right. You didn't drink enough.
I cannot wait to have micheladas when I go to San Diego for DLG Con. That's actually one of the top things that I need to get when I go back.
That sounds awesome. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
it's so
Cool.
good.
They're good, but just bring some Zyrtec with you or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Or just don't have a weak ass GI system.
I've never had.
I have IBS.
heartburn.
Fuck you.
I've never had heartburn in my life. I don't know what heartburn
I don't get
tastes like.
heartburn from it either. I'm sorry.
You're like,
Sorry,
I don't
Nick.
know, bitch. Okay.
I don't speak bitch.
All right. Two more questions from Warconius here. You guys were talking about really good looking games on the PC. I got two suggestions. Spider-Man completely maxed out with ray tracing, and Death Stranding, same thing. Best ray tracing and DLSS optimization.
I mean, that's not really a question, but that's pretty cool, man.
Cool.
That's good to
Thanks,
know.
Morcone. Awesome.
Thanks for the suggestion.
What's that? What Spider-Man game is he referring to?
The one that from PlayStation that got ported to PC. It's one of the only working ports that turned out to be very, very well received.
Miles Morales, right?
Miles Morales is like the kind of like 1.5 version of the game. It's like a huge DLC that adds its own little story
Oh,
because you
cool.
play as a completely different Spider-Man.
Okay. Yeah, I remember. God, it's pretty rare when we get a good port, especially from a PlayStation game.
Well, God of War was perfect, I think. And
Yeah, both of those had extensive brewing times for the
Oh.
ports. Like they developed the game without the intention to port them to PC, and then they decided to, and then actually did it correctly.
And
And the Last of Us 2 was great.
Yeah.
Eternal was
Hmm,
great.
okay.
Actually, I think it's the opposite. I
The
think
Last
they
of
really
Us
are-
1 remake was
Yeah, that's
caca.
where they dropped it.
You're fucking wrong, Bobby. Just
Dude, I'm just thinking of the countless times they tried to port a Final
You're not-
Fantasy game, and it was just terrible with
It's
30
just-
frame cap and all that thing.
Mhm.
So I'm seeing Spider-Man Remastered and Spider-Man
That's the
Miles
one.
Morales
It's remastered.
Spider-Man
remastered.
remastered. Yeah.
Okay.
But like I said, Miles Morales is kind of like a 1.5.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I feel like it's cheating when like the city is so prominent. That's how like GTA. I don't think GTA has great graphics, but it feels like a real place because there's so many people and all these buildings everywhere that it kind of makes it seem better than it actually is.
that's,
Just
And I know
world
in Spider-Man,
building.
that's cheating.
yeah, it's kind of cheating. It makes it seem like the graphics are a lot better than they really are. Kind of like with Battlefront 2. They don't. If you look at the faces of the characters, like the human faces, and you see the hair, and it's like, okay, that doesn't look that great. But then when you see the environment and the stormtrooper, like it looks really good, and that's mostly what it is.
But is that cheating?
Yeah, dude, that's cheating.
All right. Fucking Inspector Bobby.
It's
Doesn't
I've
pass.
declared it cheating. All right. Warconius also says recent PC ports have been terrible. Do you think it's because the new console architecture is too different? For example, heavy reliance on super fast storage.
I think we
Yeah.
touched on this earlier. You know,
Mhm.
they
Yeah, we
just have
did.
had way less time to deal with that, and they'll get better at it. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say on that.
All right.
All
Let's
right.
go out with a bang. Let's go out with a fizzle, folks.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So, I think I'm gonna do we'll have on the radar. Should we do a little recap?
Uh,
We've
think
been doing good recap and stuff.
Yeah, we recapped as we went, I think.
That's
I feel
right.
like.
So we're good. We're good. Well, then, all right. Speaking for Christian, for Nick, for Bobby, for Emilio, and for myself, enjoy some digging metal dwarf titties outro music.